call this meeting to order. It's Monday, May 13th, 2024 at 5:35 p.m. in the afternoon. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Santinez.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Dutton.
Here.
Councilmember Morse.
Here.
Councilmember Sanchez. Mayor Coops.
Here. I'll entertain a motion to excuse the absence of Victor Sanchez.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Sonny Santinez, supported by Mayor Pro Tem Ray Dutton. Without objection, that'll be the order. All right, Ryan, what do we got?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the council will recess to closed session for conference with real property negotiator for the parcel numbers listed on the agenda.
Any recusals? Does anyone have any conflicts on any of these evening's items, closed sessions items?
I have a conflict. I need to recuse myself for my employer.
Okay, so we have Councilmember Wendy Morris will be excusing herself from this closed session, and there are nobody.
And Mayor,
Yes.
I also have a property conflict on item 3A, so I'll recuse myself too.
All right, so Mr. Dutton, Mayor Pro Tem Dutton has indicated he also has a conflict, so he'll not be present. So that leaves Sonny and I and an absentee. And yeah, I guess we'll recess until we get a third member of the council. Well, I didn't see that one coming. And let the record show that Victor Sanchez has rejoined us, and we're going to go into closed session. We're going to call this meeting to order. This is Monday, May 13, 2024 at 7 p.m. in the evening. This is a regular meeting of the Bellflower City Council, and we're reconvening from closed session where there are no reportable actions. Roll call at this time.
Councilmember Santinez.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Dutton.
Here.
Councilmember Morse.
Here.
Councilmember Sanchez.
Here.
Mayor Coops.
Here. We will now have the invocation, and that'll be provided by Councilmember Wendy Morse, followed immediately by Pledge of Allegiance, Elizabeth Alba, Director of Planning and Building Services. Please stand with me.
Lord, I come before you and ask for a special measure of safety for the members of our military as they serve our country and around the world. I pray for our first responders and our law enforcement as they protect and serve our city. I ask for wisdom and grace for our city staff and my fellow council members as we work together to serve the best interest of our community.
Please place your right hand over your heart and join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll now have our City Council announcements. The City of Bellflower's annual paper shredding event will be held in Sims Park parking lot this Saturday, May 18th, from 8 in the morning till 11. I'm just reading what it says here. We're going to move it in Mill. I get what you're saying. We're going to move it to Thompson Park. I'm just reading what it says here, but we'll fix it. That'll be Thompson Park from 8 to 11, and it'll last till the shredding truck is filled. The drive-through event is free for Bellflower residents, and there's a limit of 5 bags or boxes per vehicle. Paper, file folders, staples, rubber bands, and small binder clips are acceptable. This is strictly a shred event. Electronics or hazardous waste are not accepted. For more information, you can call Sims Park, and they're at 562-866-7510. Mayor Pro Tem Ray Dutton.
Thank you, Mayor. Residents are encouraged to bring their used tires to the LA County's free waste tire collection event. That would be this Saturday, May 18th, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. The event will be held at the Mary Rodriguez Senior Center, Senior Citizens Center parking lot, located at 21815 Pioneer Boulevard in the city of Hawaiian Gardens. Tires will be accepted and recycled free of charge. For more information, please visit the website www.cleanla.lacounty.gov. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Dutton. Councilmember Sunny Stantonez.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. Have you been impacted by recent business closures or need assistance with reemployment? The Southeast Los Angeles County Workforce Development Board, commonly known as CELACO, provides resources and job placement assistance at no cost. For more information, email Vanessa Ramirez at vanessa.ramirez@celaco.com or visit their website at www.celacowdb.com. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Councilmember Wendy Morse.
Thank you, Mayor. The Bellflower Chamber of Commerce invites the business community to its Business to Business Casual Connections event this Thursday, May 16th, from 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. The Chamber will also be hosting its monthly morning mingle next Tuesday, May 28th, from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. For more information, please call the Bellflower Chamber of Commerce at 562-867-1744. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Wendy. Councilmember Victor Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Bellflower. To help support local business owners, the City of Bellflower is highlighting local businesses in its monthly e-Citizens newsletter. Share business updates, special events, holiday celebrations, and more by emailing your information to economic_dev, DEV, @bellflower.org. For more information on business resources, please call 562-804-1424, extension 2010. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. So at this time, we're going to have a presentation. I'd like to invite Los Angeles County Sheriff Sergeant Matt Ferguson up to the presentation riser to accept the National Police Week proclamation. So if my council colleagues would meet with me over here, we will go through that. Is this on? Okay. So you get to do double duty tonight. That's right. You always protect us from anything that could go wrong in the meeting. And so we're glad to be able to have you receive this proclamation from the City of Bellflower. I don't know why it doesn't say National Sheriff's Week, but it says National Police Week, so we're just going to go with that. National Police Week in America is created to honor and recognize the sacrifice and contributions made by police officers in communities both large and small. National Police Week was held every year in May, was created in 1963 through a proclamation issued by then President John F. Kennedy. And police officers are engaged with service and public in the most varied and wide-ranging manners, and they do their effort to keep us very, very safe, and many times go unnoticed. Therefore, I, Dan Coops, the mayor of the City of Bellflower, do hereby proclaim May 12th through 18th, 2024 as National Police Week in Bellflower, and express support for all our police officers, especially the departments serving in the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. And it's signed by Mayor Dan Coops, Mayor Pro Tem Ray Dutton, Council Member Wendy Morris, Council Member Victor Sanchez, and Council Member Sunny Stantonez. So this is for you, and if you have a few words, I'd love to have you tell it now.
Sure. Well, I mean, along with National Police Week, unfortunately, like I have a memorial band on my badge right now. That's one of the risks that we do put ourselves in, put out there for the safety of the public. It's very appreciated when people do recognize it because a lot of sacrifices do go into this job, from stuff we give up time with our family, to putting ourselves in dangerous situations. So it's very nice when someone does recognize it. So thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to invite the City of Bellflower Maintenance Crew Leader Brad Binder up to the presentation area.
Hey, Brad.
Oh, hey. National Public Works Week and advancing quality of life for all. So we've got this proclamation that claims that Bellflower public work professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance towards sustainability and resilient communities, to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people in the city of Bellflower. It is in the public interest of the citizens, civic leaders, and children in the city of Bellflower to gain knowledge of and to maintain a progressive interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public works programs in their cities. By the year 2024 marks the 64th annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association, Canadian Public Works Association. Therefore, I, Dan Coops, do hereby designate the week May 19th through 25th, 2024 as the National Public Works Week. I urge all citizens to join with the representations of the American Public Works Association and the Canadian Public Works Association and government agencies in activities, events, and ceremonies designed to pay tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees, and to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protect our national health, safety, and our quality of life. Proclamation signed by Mayor Dan Coops, Mayor Pro Tem Ray Dutton, Councilmember Wendy Morris, Councilmember Victor Sanchez, and Councilmember Victor Santianez. And this is for you. And if you'd like to say a few words.
Public Works is always grateful when the city takes this time to recognize us during the week of the year. We really, truly appreciate doing service for the Bellflower residents.
Thank you. Public comments, Mr. Smoot.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is the time set aside for the public to address the city council on matters not listed on the agenda. Anyone wishing to address the city council should come to the podium, be recognized by the mayor, and state your name for the record. If you wish to address the city council on an agenda item, you may do so by approaching the podium as we review that particular item. You'll be given 3 minutes to address the city council.
So anybody that has anything that's not agenda, please come forward. Good evening, Cheryl.
Sorry, didn't want anybody to hear me. I want to thank you for hosting the the open house at the Fire Museum this past Saturday. It was awesome. They had equipment. I've been a fire truck fanatic my whole life, and I saw equipment there that I have never seen. A huge bulldozer and a huge, like a tow truck to lift semis off of things. And so there were people there, and we all enjoyed immensely seeing this equipment, interacting with the fire department, their personnel. And I'd also like to thank and comment on our Department of Public Works. They do an outstanding job in this city. I walk around my neighborhood pretty much every day, and they have made it safe by smoothing out the sidewalks where some of them have been displaced a lot. They put the blacktop there. They keep our roads in great repair. We come from other cities surrounding here, and we're hitting potholes. We get to Bellflower, and the roads are wonderful. I mean, you're not bouncing all over, and I just want to thank them and also recognize the sheriffs for the work they do. But I just wanted to let you know how much we appreciate what you do here in the city for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Palacios.
Yes, you know me.
Oh, sure we do. Glad to see you.
Hi, everybody. I'm not the formal type. My churches, we dress informal, but we are committed to Jesus Christ in every single way, shape, or form. My concern is the homelessness, and we have rent increasing 10% in this city every year for several years now. We have food increasing. We have electric prices increasing, water prices increasing. And I researched our homeless shelter. It's, I believe, a 50-bed shelter, and you have to be referred by Mercy House. So we only have 50 beds in our homeless shelter, but we have rent increases. The concern is about the future of our kids and our grandkids and the people that come after us. How do we expect that they're going to pay rent, food, electricity, water, and buy a house when things are continuing to go sky high in prices? And they're doing the sidewalk that we have requested for a very long time today, the dangerous sidewalk that is near the disabled nursing home. It's just being done today. It was promised by November, but it's just being done today. I would like to see that we put the disabled not at the last, but kind of prioritize them ahead, since they can't change things for themselves. So I think we need to look at rent control and housing for the homeless in this city. And I would like for you to think about it and put it on the agenda as important, not as unimportant. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Fill this out. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and respected council members. My name is Andrew. I am part of the Kingdom Causes Bellflower team. And for many years, Bellflower has been a big supporter of KCB Kingdom Causes, not only financially with the help that you give with our rental assistance and CDBG, but also personally. I've had all of you talk to me or one of my staff or come to one of our open houses to support the work and the hope that we are trying to do to help the least of those kind of in our city. And so I just want to give you an update to let you know that we are still working hard and your money is being well spent, or our money as residents of Bellflower is being well spent as we come to the end of the fiscal year. Just want to give you some numbers that we have had. 48 people have had rental assistance. These would be people that would have been homeless if they weren't able to be helped with rental assistance and problem solving. We've had 42 that have actually been housed. 15 that have been assisted in one way or another. This is more problem solving. They were going to lose their housing for one reason or another, and we're able to help out with that. These were in all Bellflower, but over 58% of them were Bellflower residents that we were able to help. Excitingly to say is we have 6, almost 7 folks from the New Hope shelter that have been permanently housed. This is more movement than we've seen in quite a while just because of the lack of housing that's availability. 2 of these have been in the New Hope shelter for over 2 years, and the rest have been there over a year. So we are seeing some movement. We're seeing some problem solving and shared housing and things like that that are working with other cities to help our folks get out of our shelter into permanent housing, which is better for them and better for our city as we're able to get more folks in there that need that housing. We also have a new partnership with Catholic Charities, which will start to help our citizens, our neighbors that are undocumented. And so they're doing kind of the leading work with our undocumented neighbors. And so we've got the first one that got out that was undocumented into permanent housing and getting identification. And we have more going with that. Margaret's House facility, which is our transitional home for families. 9 individuals, 4 families have been helped. Our GSI work, we've had 38 in program, 23 have gotten permanent placement. Over 50% of these were Bellflower residents. And this has mostly just been in 2024. And so we have 1.5 months left. And so a lot of this work, we have been just getting our team together. We've got some good people working with the right hearts, with the right motivations, and we see a lot of favor in that. Our community center is now open full-time. And so in this year, 2024, we've helped 681 folks that have come in to get different assistance, 44 with utility assistance, and we have a new fund called the Love Thy Neighbor Fund, where folks are donating money from problem solving, so everything from hotel stays to families that need to get off the street and transition out to food vouchers and things like that. And so a lot of more information, but my time is up, but just want to say thank you and looking forward to many, many years in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for watching the clock, too.
Hey, Mayor,
Yes.
how are you able to tee up the public comments in perfectly ordered?
Well, I'm just lucky, I guess. You know, last week we had no public comments, so I was ready for quite a few tonight.
We had questions, and now we got all the answers.
Right. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is Steve Tammer. I live on Ripon Avenue in front of Carruthers Park. Some of you might remember me. I've visited the council a few times last year.
Yep.
Unfortunately, they were after we had a couple shootings at the park, and I had voiced my concern and wanted to get some recommendations and some feedback from you guys on what we can do and maybe some ideas that can just be passed along. And unfortunately, I personally haven't seen too much as a result of that. And luckily, there hasn't been any shootings lately, but this last Thursday, we did have that same group at the park again with a fairly large gathering, about 50-plus members, and I'm referring to Crip game members that are visibly wearing blue colors, you know, and drinking alcohol openly, gambling right there in front of everybody without, you know, not hiding it at all, just doing it right at open in the public. Unfortunately, this happened at the same time there was Little League games going on, so the parking lot was extremely full. I had a gentleman who was coming in with his kids, and so one of those, I don't know if it was one of those members, but somebody with that group backed out into his car, refused to exchange information with him. He was forced to call the sheriff's department. Sheriff's department showed up. They were lucky enough to get the information, but sheriff's department couldn't really do anything about the gathering. And so I kind of made a couple notes on myself on some things that I've noticed in surrounding cities. One of which is permits for large gatherings at parks. I know Cerritos, Downey, Lakewood, even Paramount. They require a permit, and it's not about the fee. It's just about accountability. You got to put down your ID. You got to, you know, some accountability of how you're leaving the park when you leave. And I don't know if that's something that's ever come up across the, the members here as an idea, but that's something that I've thought of. Another problem that we're having, I know everybody's talking about the homeless, but the homeless around the 91 freeway easements and under the in the riverbed has gotten pretty out of hand. There's a lot of tents down there. It's unfortunately those people come out at night and they break into cars. I personally have caught people on my property who I've seen run back to the riverbed after I've chased them off. Trash around the park is getting pretty bad. Sometimes I'm thankful for the park staff. They do come around. Seems a little bit far and in between. I know the morning staff in the morning, they're really good about it. It's almost right on the clock. Every day when I leave, I see the gentleman coming around, picking up the trash. So again, just want some feedback. I don't know, Mayor Coops, if that's still your district, but just on how I can help, or maybe some ideas. But I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Now, and what I'm going to do, Brian McNerney is our acting public not public works, but public safety director.
Yeah.
And he's taken the place of Joel Hockman, who retired. And I'd like for you and him to meet together out in the foyer and have a little one-on-one, and he can tell you what's going on with the park and what we're doing, and you can add to what he knows and figure something out.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And you may want to have PJ, the park
and
director.
PJ, the director of Parks and Recreation, will be there with you, and he'll make sure that the staff is doing the right thing there.
Yeah.
All right.
And we also require permits for large gatherings at all our parks.
But I don't know if the Crips know how to sign up for that. Paperwork isn't their strong suit.
Careful.
Anybody else have any public testimony?
Mr. Mayor, real quick, just for the record, we did receive a written public comment before the meeting, and that was distributed to council and available to the public.
Okay. Oh, that's all. I don't need to read this or anything? No, okay, but you all got a copy of what was suggested? Okay. So Congressman, if you'd like to come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council, and to the great team here at Bellflower. Just wanted to first, also Councilwoman, welcome also. Wanted to just, two things. First is thank you for all the work you do. As you all know, and I believe this, Bellflower is an incredible community, and being your neighbor in Long Beach and having served as mayor, I've always admired and continue to admire the development of the downtown and just how great the city looks. So congratulations to you. I wanted just to stop by and present all of you. In my first year in Congress, you guys had made a request that there was a need for security cameras in your parks and in city facilities, and to buy the technology and the cameras across the city. And so I'm really happy to say that working with all of you and your team, we were able to secure $875,000 through Congress and through the appropriations process so that all of you can install all of the security cameras across your parks and in your buildings. And so this amount of money should be, from what I understand from your staff, enough to fully implement your camera security program across the city. And I think it's great for public safety. I know it's a priority for you, Mr. Mayor, and for the council to ensure that Bellflower is a safe place for families in the community. And so I just came today to present all of you and of course the community with this $870,000 from the Community Projects Fund within the U.S. House. And so congratulations, and I wanted to present this.
Thank you,
all.
Congressman Robert Garcia. And we're going to have a picture
Yes,
right over
yes.
here.
And I'll say that we're working on right now. You've also submitted a request to our office to work on additional funding for for the Sims Park,
Right.
And some of the challenges that you have there for, I believe, the community center.
Right.
And so we're working on that right now and putting in a request to help you all with that as well. So
So you're always welcome, with or without a check. You're always welcome.
of course, of course.
It's better with checks, though.
So if anybody else, we can still have public testimony here. If you want to follow an $800,000 check, you're welcome to come forward. So, yeah. I know it's really an honor to have him recognize our needs in the city. And you heard about the parks, and he's here to get some cameras in those places, and we can watch what's going on a little better. But anybody else want to give any public comment? All right, we're moving on to public hearings. Mr. Smoot?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I believe this is item 11A. And I'm going to give a brief introduction, and then we have Richard Bernard here with us tonight from Fairbank, Maslin, Mullen, and Metz to do some presentation as to some data we've received from your community and some of their priorities. Okay. So as you know, on the 8th of April, you all conducted the first of 2 required public hearings to gather input from the public regarding the potential of placing a charter measure before the voters in November. This is the second of those public hearings. A little bit of background. A number of years ago, well, a couple of years ago, the City Council established a subcommittee comprised of 2 council members and a number of residents, public safety professionals, small business folks, et cetera, a cross-section of your community to make some recommendations to come up with some solutions to the problems you were facing, namely, how do we provide the housing that our residents are demanding? How do we meet some of the public safety challenges that they're presenting to us, and a number of other things, and continue the economic development that you're going about. The result of those meetings of that charter subcommittee was the charter language that's been presented to you a number of times and is here in the packet for you this evening. So you're here tonight to gather even more input from the public, and with that, I'm going to let Richard go into some of the data gathering that he's done for us, and give us some background on that, and then we're happy to answer any questions that you have.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members, staff. Can everyone hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay, great. And you should have in front of you the survey results. Sorry, I don't have a check for you. I wish I could,
Yeah.
but maybe this will help. So I'm going to present the results of your most recent voter survey. I'm sorry I can't be there in person, but I had a family issue that has come up. So thank you for letting me present from a distance. So we conducted your survey between April 14th and the 23rd of this year, so relatively fresh data. It was a dual mode survey, which means a random portion of respondents took the survey on the phone and another random portion took the survey online. We conducted 472 random interviews with City of Bellflower registered voters who are likely to vote in a November 2024 general election. For questions asked of everyone, the margin of error is plus or minus 4.9. In some cases, because we had a very large list of questions we wanted to ask, we randomly selected half the sample to take some and the other half others, and there the margin of error is a little larger. We contacted your voters by telephone, email, and text, and we've had the privilege, as I mentioned, every time I visit you, to have worked with you over a very long number of years, and in some cases we were able to track some data, and in this case, I just want you to know that while we won't be presenting it tonight, I'll be happy to share this with the city in subsequent days in terms of data over time. We offered the survey in English and Spanish, and if you're very quick and notice something doesn't quite equal 100%, I blame that entirely on rounding error. I want to start off by giving you a little bit of context. We asked, as we normally do in your surveys, whether they think things are headed in the right direction or if they're off on the wrong track. In this survey, we asked first about the state of California. You could see the results are on the left-hand side, and then the city of Bellflower, which are on the right-hand side. On the left-hand side, you could see that almost 1 every 2 consider things headed in the are headed in the wrong track in the state of California, with a little bit more than 2 in 10 saying right direction. Conversely, on the right-hand side, Bellflower, people are a little bit more optimistic, with close to 4 in 10 saying right direction and 21% saying wrong track. The reason we looked at both of them is the fact that the city, you folks are considering potentially moving to a charter city suggests, the data suggests that they certainly trust you or feel more optimistic about you than the state of California. And in terms of your numbers, comparatively to many other cities, they're above water. In other words, there's a higher percentage of right direction versus wrong track. We're noticing in the last 5 or 6 months a significant decline in some of the cities partly around, and it may vary in terms of ranking, partly around the issue of cost of living, cost of housing, homelessness, and perceptions of property crimes. And we're going to show you some data in a moment in terms of issues that are prominent in your city. We asked a couple of questions. We mentioned some organizations and groups that are active in Bellflower city life, and we asked them if they had favorable or unfavorable opinions about those groups or organizations. The dark blue is very favorable, and the bright blue is somewhat favorable. I've aggregated the total favorable on the right-hand side and ranked these items as such. The pink and the red are somewhat and very unfavorable respectively. And again, I've aggregated those total unfavorable on the right-hand side, and the gray are the folks who either said they'd never heard of that group or organization or had heard of them, but didn't know enough to offer an opinion. You could see, as we see in almost every city that I've been asking this question, local small business owners tend to be scoring off the charts in this election cycle, with 79% favorable, only 3% unfavorable. Your deputies have a majority, slight majority, who have a favorable view, and the numbers are a little lower, partly because you've got 3 in every 10 who said they don't know enough about the Sheriff's Association to offer an opinion. The council and city government overall have about 1 in every 2 have a favorable number. In this day and age, with the word government involved, the fact that you have a 2-to-1 favorable to unfavorable number suggests that you have a very good they have strong favorable opinions. Some of the lower numbers are explained by the fact that some of them don't know enough to be able to rate you. But comparatively to what I've seen in with respect to other city councils, these numbers are quite strong. We then provided them with a random list of issues, and we asked them, thinking about Bellflower, how serious a problem would you say they are in the city? The dark red is very serious problem, and the pink is somewhat serious. I've added the very and somewhat serious on the right-hand side. The blue is not too serious. The bright blue is not too serious. The dark blue is not at all serious. And the small slivers of gray are the people who said they didn't know enough about the issue. And you can see of the 19 items, you've got on the first slide, all 6 of these items are considered serious. Now, given what we're talking about tonight with respect to the charter, if you look down, the cost of living is clearly out of your hands and is a topic of concern, certainly in all cities that we conduct surveys across California. The number of homeless, this has been a persistent problem in your city. And unlike most cities, you've actually done quite a bit to address it. And I know that's constantly on top of mind in your community, and certainly having worked with you for a long time, knowing this is very important among the council members. Issues of property crime is another issue that has spiked across the board. Even if numbers in some communities are going down, the perception is that property crimes are still a very serious problem. Now, with respect to the charter, you could see the issue of affordable housing is a very top of mind issue as well. And just to go back a couple of years to when you were thinking about a commercial vacancy tax, you could see the number of businesses that have closed or left Bellflower is still a concern, particularly among at least 45% that say it's a very serious concern. Then as we go down the same theme of the number of vacant storefronts, you have 79% who say it's a very or somewhat serious problem. As we go down the list, I want to go to the bottom of the top of this third slide, the condition of streets and roads. Again, relevant in the context of your interest in becoming a charter city. And at the bottom is too much growth and development. And there, this number is very low comparatively to the other items. Only 25% see it as a very or somewhat serious problem, with only 10% saying a very serious problem. So unlike many cities, growth and development is not necessarily considered a problem in your city. And if you're interested in doing some infrastructure projects, they may be very welcomed in your community. So moving on to the charter measure ballot question, working with your legal counsel who drafted this ballot question based on your 2022 survey, where we listened to your voters and revise the question to be reflective of their interest. We read them this ballot question if they were on the phone, or they read it if they were online. And we asked them, if there were an election today, would you vote yes in favor or no to oppose? If they said they would vote yes in favor, we asked them, is that definitely or probably yes? Because we want to know the intensity of support, that is the percentage who say definitely yes. And if they said no, we asked them, is that definitely or probably no? Because we want to know the percentages of folks who said they definitely would vote no on this. If they were undecided, we pushed them a little. We said, would you lean yes or would you lean no? If they said they'd lean yes, we put them in the yes camp, no in the no camp. And for this particular ballot question on the initial vote, 15% said they were undecided. So reminding you, this is if you choose to move forward, I'm not trying to get ahead of you, but my charge was to test a potential measure. If this were on the ballot, the margin of error for these results in the survey are plus or minus 4.9, but let's say simple math 5. If you look at the 67% on the total yes, if you go up 5 points, it's at 72. I'm just looking at the margin of error, top and bottom. And if you go down, it's 62. And even more conservatively, if you just take the people say definitely or probably yes, it's at 65 yes, or it's at 55 yes. I'm taking the 60 and moving up 5 and moving down 5 as well. On the definitely no side, it's very, very modest at 9%. I usually see a lot larger percentage of people who say no, but the undecided, pure undecideds at 15 are because it's a topic that people are not well versed on. So before I get in a little bit more into the education, I thought you might be interested in seeing how the vote goes on the initial ballot by the various city council districts. So I took everyone who said definitely, probably, and lean yes, and I made them blue. That blue bar is the total yes on that initial vote. The red bar is the definitely, probably, or lean no. So the total no on that initial vote is the red bar. And the gray are those folks who are purely undecided. This particular slide looks at the data by council district, and you could see 1 to 5 displayed at the bottom, and the percentages below those numbers are the percentages that they are expected to make up of a likely November 2024 electorate. So the largest percentage of voters of the November 2024 electorate will come from District 1, and the smallest will be from District 17. That being said, across the board, majorities in all districts initially support this measure. Now, because people are not super familiar with what goes into a charter, we took an objective description of what it is about to sort of give them a little bit of input, because of course we will want your voters to be educated so they can make their own decision and not sort of have to guess on this. So we again work with legal counsel to describe what does this mean. And what are you asking them to consider, and placing it in context. And after we read this description to them, we re-asked that ballot question that I showed you earlier. The initial vote is on the left-hand side. That was the one with just the summary of a potential measure. That was 67 yes, 19 no, 15% undecided. I've already walked you through that. After the description that I just showed you, the support goes up 6 points overall, so above the margin of error. And the definitely yes, more importantly, goes up 10 points to 49%. Now, I'll remind you, this is a 50+1 measure. So again, with the margin of error 4.9, but let's say 5 for simple math, On the high end, if everything goes the direction of the measure, it's 78, and at the low end, it's 68. And even if it's a little bit more conservative, it's way above that margin of error. Note that the definitely yes is super strong, given the fact it's a 50+1 measure, and the definitely no remains very modest at 9%. And now we introduce some education and some oppositional statements. And with respect to education, we told them that this potential measure could benefit the city, particularly around economic development, which would allow the city to do contracts with less bureaucracy, less red tape, and save money for taxpayers, as well as providing more local control against state mandates, particularly around how affordable housing. And on the opponent side, some opponents would say that this is really not needed, that the city is running fine as it is. There's really no need to be a charter city. And after giving them a bunch of information on both sides of the coin, we re-asked that ballot question that you saw a little earlier. So on the left-hand side, again, was the initial vote, just ballot title and summary. It started out ballot summary. It started out 67 yes, 19 no, 15% were undecided. After giving a brief objective description to help people figure out what this measure was about, it moves up 6 points to 73, opposition 17. Most importantly, the definitely yes is at 49. After giving them both educational statements and critical statements, support drops down 11 points from 73 to 62, but still above that margin of error and above the 50+1 threshold. And note the definitely no remains at 10%, so very, very modest. And since I conducted this survey in 2022, I thought you might want to see sort of differences across time. You can see that we asked this ballot question a number of times. Each point is when we asked it. Remember, initial vote, vote after description, and vote after all information. The top bar, which is the total yes, the blue bar, the red bar is the total no, and the gray is undecided. Note that there's similar in terms of patterns of votes. What's different is that since 2022, the initial support has gone up pretty dramatically. In 2022, the initial vote was 50 yes, 31 no. Taking into account the concerns and interests of your voters from the initial survey, we were able to refine the ballot question and be more responsive to your community. And so the initial vote in 2024 was 67-19. At the end of the day, the votes are very similar after all education. Within 2022, it was 61 yes, 24 now, 24 no, and now in 2024, it's 62 yes, 19% no. And with that, I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Richard, for the great presentation. We always appreciate your input on what we're looking at. And we'll open up to questions now. Mr. Sandy Inez, have any questions of the presentation?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Bernard, for your presentation. It's quite impressive. What really amazed me was there wasn't a significant change between the survey in 2022 and this year's survey. But if I can point out one thing, it seems like based on the survey, after providing the description, it went up significantly more favorable after the description. And then when you provided them with more information, then it went down. Is it a case of information overload?
Sorry, it's hard for me to hear that. I've got everything up to your actual question.
Okay, my statement was when you provided them with a description of a charter city, the survey became more favorable. It increased. But when you gave them more information after that, it went down. So my first question is it a case of information overload?
if I understand, you're trying to wonder why did it go down after giving more
Right, did we
information?
give
Is
them
that
too much information?
Yeah, so remember we gave both educational statements because the city can't advocate, but also critical statements. So it was at that critical statement point that we challenged it, which got people who are not familiar with this to wonder if this is good for the city or not. But what I'll point out is that the people who are definitely no were only at 10% after all that information. So they were kind of soft. So my recommendations to the city, if you folks choose to want to at least move forward in educating them, ultimately the decision is not to be made tonight, right? That's not what's being asked of you. It would be important for them to understand clearly the benefits of why the city is partaking in this. The kind of thing like it will cut red tape. You'll be able, we talked about in one of the educational statements, the city has done a phenomenal job about revitalizing downtown. And that's one example. And I think very few people, if any, would disagree with that. And the opportunity, if you cut red tape and at the same time do it more fiscally conservatively, you can help revitalize other parts of the community, scored really well. So telling your story will buffer the support. There will be opposition because there's opposition to everything, but the data suggests that even the folks who come out to oppose this, their arguments are relatively weak. I mean, I think a 62 19 vote is a really strong vote. If you got that, you would consider that to be, I would wonder if you wouldn't think that was a successful outcome. But it was subject to opposition, and people aren't clear on what a city charter does. And it's beholden on the city to explain to your voters why are there benefits. People trust you, your numbers are good. You wouldn't be doing it if you didn't see it being a benefit to the community.
No, no, no.
I hope that helps.
No, my question is more focused on the providing more information.
Yeah.
Because it seems like it became counterproductive to provide more information. It seems like it was more productive when we gave them with a description.
Okay, I get it. So
are you following me?
Remember, yeah. Well,
after hold on. After the description, it really went up.
Yeah.
But when we provide them with information, it went down again. It seems like the information didn't help.
If
Am
I
reading
followed
correctly?
If I follow it closer, like I didn't give you, if you give them education, the support goes up farther. But then if opposition happens, so if you just give education and there's no opposition, it goes up to 79%. So you're buffering the opposition support, the impact of opposition. After critical statements, it drops down to 62. So your question is, do we just stop at description? Is that enough?
Right.
That's what your question is, right?
That's my question.
Yeah, and I would say it certainly would help, but people may have additional questions. And so you'll certainly want to provide FAQs to be able to give them more information. In and of itself, only additional education did not drop the support. It was only after critical statements that support dropped. So that's something out of the hands of the city.
So the additional information you provided is more of you're trying to kind of challenge the theory basically.
Yeah.
Okay, to make it work. Okay.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah, that was a great question. I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing, but it's a great question.
What I'm getting at here is I think if we were to move ahead with this, I think we need to be very careful in terms of the information we provide.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So we don't want to kind of overload them with too much information. Then then they lose the whole thing.
100%.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So, can you show the chart, the last one, or second to the last one?
Do you want me to put it up?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I'm happy to. Hold on.
Where you compare 2022 and then 2024.
Yeah, sure. Hold on. This one.
Yeah,
yes.
that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was no significant change in terms of after the description, 75 and then 73. Yeah. Okay. And that my point here is those who are going to be against this, no matter what, they're always going to be against. No matter how much test you do, we still have about 19%, I think, that will be voting no against, no for it anyway. Yeah. Okay. All right. That's all.
Yeah, I would just simply say we don't want to undereducate them because there will be opponents who will say things, and you want to make sure you have explanations for it to buffer the opposition.
Right.
If that makes sense. Yes,
Yeah. Well, it has to be well balanced, and then.
that's right. That's right.
Okay. All right. That's all I have. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Sonny. Mr. Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Richard, thank you for the presentation. Can you go back to that actual slide that
Sure.
Councilmember Salinas had up?
The one I just showed?
Yes, please.
Yeah, sure. Happy to.
And then my question is, correct me if I'm wrong here, but after the additional information or the critical information the opposition basically was presented, most of the individuals that shifted did not shift to a no per se. They shifted to undecided. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. At the end of the day, we won't be able to control what the opposition states, but I do have a question for you. In the information description side, you presented several cities that, in my opinion, would probably most likely garnish a positive effect, right? You put Cerritos, Downey, and so forth. My question to
Right.
you is, within the last decade, there have been cities with, let's say, just not the best of reputations that are also charter cities. Was that presented as part of the opposition information? I'm curious.
So without throwing any cities under the bus, we certainly, from the educational point of view, identified Downey, Cerritos, Long Beach, Whittier, and Signal Hill that have led the way in terms of becoming a charter city. And we've identified at least one other city that has a modest reputation on the opponent side, where people will point to them and say, well, they're a charter city, and that doesn't reflect well on them. So we have to be very mindful of how that works.
Right. So just again, without stating that city or any of those cities that have had those
Right.
challenges, right? In other words, for clarity here, you did present cities with a bad reputation. I mean, let's be
yeah.
honest. There are bad cities with reputations both on the charter and the general law. My question is, it sounds like a yes.
I again apologize, but if I understand you correctly, remember the opponents get to say what they want to say, and so we tested what we would anticipate opponents would say. It doesn't have to be true.
Correct.
But the city has no control over the opposition, and I just wanted you to know what your potential vulnerabilities were.
Correct. So it sounds like it was posed. Okay, perfect. Thank you. That's it.
It worked in your benefit. I would tell you that.
All right. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Ms. Morris have a question. Mr. Dutton.
I'll just reiterate on Councilmember Sanchez and Santa Inez's comments, because that was along the line. When it went down after the third discussion of education, or how we call it, the undecided in the second time went down a lot. I think it was 5%, and then it went back up to 15% on the third time we talked to them. So it's not like Mr. Sanchez says there definitely no. That group now is weighing a decision and haven't come up with a conclusion yet. And so that's why we pulled the undecided away, and then they went back in the undecided category. But that was it. That was my only analyzing of that.
I think you're all focused very correctly on the undecided, but even if the undecided even all move to the no, you have enough in the yes side to get you over. And that's a really important piece of information. Obviously, the city wants your voters to be as educated as possible before they make the decision, right? So that makes sense, and there are opportunities to educate them. But again, even if all the undecided hit the no, you're still in a relatively strong position.
I think the way we're looking is why we were stuck on that same question or scenario was the fact that it's our job is to educate the community so they can make a educated vote when it's on the ballot, if it goes to the ballot.
Correct.
If we go that far with it. But I think that's what we're all concerned with.
Sure.
And
That makes total sense.
this survey that you did, it was excellent, and it's showing us the direction that if we go down this path, we have a lot of education to the community to do.
Thank you.
I have a question Mr. Sanchez has.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, again. Richard, follow-up question, actually.
Sure.
I think it's common knowledge that every election is different, right? You have the presidential election, you have the non-presidential election. I'm curious to know what was the demographic makeup of the 472 residents that responded? Do we have that information available?
All right, so I heard the presidential election. You asked me about 472. Are you asking me if that's a sufficient enough sample size?
Let me so you can hear me here. So we know that there are multiple types of elections, right? You get
Yes.
a turnout for one and presidential and non-presidential year. There are different turnouts in a way per se. So I'm curious to know what the demographic was of those that you polled. Of the 472 that responded, what was the demographic?
Sure, I'm happy to share that, and I did hear that. Thank you for that. In terms of party, 53% are Democrat, 20% are Republican, 16% are no party preference, and 11% are registered for some third party. You have, terms of age, you've got 13, 23, 40, 41, 48% who are 50 and older, and the balance are younger than 50. I've already talked about the percentages for city council district. 11% chose to take the survey in Spanish. 44% self-identified as Latino or Hispanic. 26 as white. 10% as African American. 9% as Asian Pacific Islander. 2% some other ethnic or racial group, and 9% opted not to share their race or ethnicity with us.
Richard, the Latino was you said 44?
Latinos were 44%, correct.
Okay. Thank you. This is great information. Thank you.
Thanks.
So my question, Richard, would be if after looking at the data you've accumulated and we were to have an election tomorrow, what do you think the outcome would be?
I think it would be, I don't want to speak for which direction the council members are on, but if the council, it's a hypothetical, if the council was in favor of moving in this direction, I think you've got two surveys, both in 2022 and 2024, that say you have a roadmap to get to become a charter city. You have information that your community wants to hear to understand what are the benefits from it. And I think you have a viable path. I don't have a crystal ball. I'm sort of here to tell you viability, which is your question. And I think at least at this point, if the election were tomorrow, that you had a good chance of getting to becoming a charter city.
All right. So I'm going to open it up. Any more questions come up during the discussion? Sonny, you have anything you want to add?
Just a follow-up question.
Yeah.
Richard, you started with some questions about support of city council, about their perception of government, things like that. Now, based on your experience, does this correlate with? There's another chart that you showed by support by district. Do they correlate with one another?
I think if they didn't trust you and they trusted Sacramento more, and if your argument is local control is better than leaving it in the hands of Sacramento, then I think the data suggests that this is a good direction to go. They like city council, they like government, and at this point, at least, they don't like Sacramento. And so if one of the reasons you're doing that is to take more control over issues related to development, so that they don't come in and do builder's remedy or tell you you got to build affordable housing here and not there, and don't worry about traffic and height and all that. I think the voters in general are on your side.
Okay, all right, very good. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, any other questions, Wendy or Ray? So Richard, thank you very much for your presentation. I think it was very meaningful to us. And do you have any questions of us?
Do I have any questions?
No, I'll
Ian?
turn the tables on you a little bit here. We've asked you plenty of questions, but do you have anything you want to know about us, or what? Well, you know us pretty well by now after taking several polls for us.
I think that I would simply say, I know you folks, and I know whatever you think is the right decision, you will make it. You have the best. I've always found you've always had the best interest of your residents at heart. That has never changed, and I think you'll make the right decision.
All right. So you can sign off now unless staff tells me otherwise.
I'll do whatever the staff tells me to do.
Mr. Smoot, are we concluded?
If you are done with him, he may go.
Okay, Richard, thank you for your help, and we'll be in contact.
I appreciate it. Thanks for the opportunity. I always like to meet with you folks. Take care. Bye.
All right, so
Want a motion?
well, this is a public meeting.
Hearing. You want to open the public
So,
hearing?
looking for a motion to open public.
Move we open the public hearing.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Ray Dutton, supported by Councilmember Wendy Morris to open public hearing, and without objection, that'll be the order. So anybody like to come forward and give their thoughts on what we heard as to whether or not you have a question about this? We've been pretty thorough with him, so I don't know if anything's left unsaid. But that's why we do this out in the open here, so you can hear what we know. No one's coming forward, so looking for a motion to close the public hearing.
I think everybody got educated like
I
we
guess,
did.
we're pretty thorough, so.
Make a motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
All right, it's the motion by Councilmember Sonny Santinez, supported by Councilmember Victor Sanchez to close the public hearing.
Let the record show that was the quickest public hearing we've ever had.
Well, yes, it was. Without objection, that'll be the order to close the public hearing. So I guess the question now is, would we like to go forward, based on what we've heard tonight, would you like to continue on this path or put it aside?
Well, I'll speak first about it. I mean, the survey really looks good. And it hasn't changed over the last 2 years. I think based on the information that was provided today and based on the results of the report from the subcommittee that worked on this project 2 years ago, I think, in my opinion, we should move ahead.
All right, so we'll call that a motion?
Oh, okay. I thought you were just asking for
That's-
some
well,
comments.
All right, well, you can do.
Well,
I got a comment.
All
okay,
right.
there you go.
All
Before I
right.
make a motion.
You would like to make a motion, you'd like to make a comment?
Yes.
Okay.
Comment first.
Okay.
And just for education, this does not cost any residents any money. This is like something you can put on the ballot that doesn't get in somebody's pocket. It's something that gives the city of Bellflower a chance to save money to do more for the community. There's things that the state puts on us and ties our hands. This is something that will probably have some opposition, state-related, but this is something that we could free up a lot of things. As you know, this team up here has done wonderful things over the years with a very small budget. And we've done a lot, and we can do more. And it's trying to find other tools that we can have the city of Bellflower grow. And I'm going to be one that's going to beat the streets to try to educate people for this. I think it's the right direction that the city needs. And again, it's for a ballot measure for someone to vote on. It doesn't put any financial burden on anybody other than loosens some purse strings or rules that we can do things faster. Government takes so long to get things done, and it's one thing I've complained ever since I've been up here. and maybe we can get things done faster. That would be just one thing that charter city can do. But some of the state of California, Sacramento nonsense that gets put on local government is overwhelming at times, trying to be here and manage things, because we end up having a city attorney saying, you can't do that. Or city manager says, no, you can't do that. We get that a lot. We can't do that. We can't do that. But this is one way we can do things a little quicker, a little faster, a little cheaper. But as you know, in the news and other cities, the state of California doesn't like a charter city, and it was for these reasons. They want us to walk the fine line of the general law. And those are just my comments, Mayor. We can go to somebody else.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
If I may. So I have more questions regarding the process moving forward. If we were to make a motion today, second it, and vote for it, at what point in time do we finalize the charter language? Because I'm assuming we're not doing that tonight.
That's correct. I was just going to say that. Yeah, tonight, all we're asking you to do is, number one, direct us to solicit as much feedback as we can. That's the goal here. Number two, finalize some of those documents so that we can bring them back to you, the necessary documents to place this item on to the ballot. So at some point in that process, you will have another bite at the apple to finalize whatever needs to be finalized before you place something on the ballot.
Okay, great. Follow-up question of that. Does this charter language circulate the community? Because it's been 4 years. How many years has it been since it circulated?
2 years.
2 years, 22.
No, didn't we have it? The committee was 4 years ago, though.
Oh, 4 years.
Right?
Wasn't it
Yeah,
2019?
the committee was 4 years ago.
4 years ago. So that's when the language was first drafted. We didn't move forward with it, and then in 2022, it got shelved, for lack of a better word here. So this language has not seen the community, for lack of a better phrase here, in 4 years.
You did in 2022 hold meetings to discuss these.
Okay.
In 2018, your committee held a number of meetings to gather some initial input from the public and from themselves as to the specific language that should be included in that might address some of the issues that your community was bringing forward. The ultimate product of that was the language that you have in front of you. And then subsequent to that, in 2022, you took that language back out, discussed it even more, gathered even more input, and came out with that same language that's before you here this evening. So it hasn't changed, but it has been in front of the community multiple times since 2018.
Right, it has not changed. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it per se. I'm just making sure that we, cross our T's, dot our I's. Do we foresee it circulating and soliciting feedback one more time during this process?
I would say in each of these public hearings that we would have, and also in 2022, that language was out there, and our goal was obviously to continue gathering as much input on the specific language and on the process we're going through as we can between now and when you place this on the.
So in other words, the city attorney is comfortable with the amount that it has circulated.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, from a legal perspective, this has been well circulated, and there's been multiple opportunities for public input. The language did change a little bit from what the committee had originally proposed. Specific language was added in 2022 pursuant to this council direction. There's been no changes since that time, but again, you've had ample opportunity, and you'll have one more bite at the apple, as the city manager noted.
Perfect. And thank you for just, my questions are sincere because this is only my second time that we've gone through a process like this. So just want to make sure that.
Yeah, keep in mind, by legal requirement, the only legal requirement that you have is to conduct these 2 public hearings. Right. You've gone far beyond that to gather as much input as you possibly can.
Fair enough. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question related to that. In the staff recommendation, in the staff report, you mentioned consider directing staff to continue to solicit additional feedback from the broader community. Are we still planning to get some more feedback after this meeting?
We will happily take as much feedback as our residents will give us.
No, in terms of actively soliciting feedback.
If there's some way you'd like us to do that, we're happy to do that.
What was your intention in adding this?
The intention is keep this window open and gather as much feedback
Okay,
from our
but
residents
there's
as
no
we can.
planned kind of town hall meeting, something like that?
No, there was
Not
nothing
at
like
this
that at
point.
this point. Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Ready for a motion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to direct staff to continue to solicit additional feedback from the broader community while drafting the necessary documents to return to the city council that would, if desirable, allow the council to add a city charter proposal to the November 5, 2024 election ballot.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion by Councilmember Sunny Stanton as supported by Councilmember Wendy Morse. Please poll the council.
Councilmember Santinas?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Dutton?
Aye.
Councilmember Morse?
Aye.
Councilmember Sanchez?
Aye.
Mayor Coops?
Aye. 11B, Mr. Smoot.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to have Mr. DeLong come up and, along with his team and present this item for you.
I would like to make a comment for a record. Kingdom Causes is a listed recipient of funds in tonight's presentation. My employer, Carol Wade, is the landlord for Kingdom Causes. There is no apparent conflict for me in the matter, so I will participate in the vote. I just wanted to make it public record.
Thank you, Mr. Smoot. Honorable Mayor, members of the council, Carla Pineda, Management Analyst, will be giving the presentation on this item.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council. As required by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, also known as HUD, the city is conducting a public hearing for the fiscal year 24-25 Annual Action Plan. The Annual Action Plan is a one-year plan that outlines how the city will use its Community Development Block Grant Funds, also known as CDBG, and Home Investment Partnership Program Funds, also known as HOME. More specifically, the action plan describes the anticipated goals and activities for the upcoming program year. Every 5 years, the city must submit a consolidated plan to HUD, which is a 5-year plan for the use of CDBG and HOME funds. The consolidated plan is then carried out through annual action plans. This year's annual action plan is the 5th and final action plan of the 5-year consolidated planning period. CDBG funds must be used for activities that benefit low-income residents or for promoting economic development and eliminating blight. The CDBG program can fund activities such as community and public facilities, infrastructure improvements, economic development, public services, and business assistance. No more than 20% of the allocation can be spent on administration, and no more than 15% can be spent on public service activities. On May 7th, 2024, HUD announced that the city of Bellflower will be receiving $897,114 in CDBG funds. In addition to the fiscal year 24-25 entitlement grant, the city expects to receive $1,200 in program income and anticipates $246,794 in carryover funds, with the total estimated funding at just over $1.1 million. The city published the Notice of Availability, also known as the NOFA, on January 19, 2024, to solicit applications for CDBG funds. The city received a total of 4 applications comprised of 2 public services, 1 economic development, and 1 fair housing services. The proposed CDBG budget and activities for fiscal year 24-25 are listed on the current slide. CDBG funds can be used to support public service agencies that provide vital services in the community. Staff is recommending funding the Fair Housing Foundation, Kingdom Causes Bellflower Good Soils Program, and the Bellflower Volunteer Center. Staff recommends funding the Fair Housing Foundation at $18,000. They provide fair housing services to Bellflower residents to prevent discrimination. Their services include, but are not limited to, referrals, investigations, case management, litigation, and resolving landlord-tenant disputes. As a CDBG grantee, HUD requires the city to affirmatively further fair housing. The services provided by the Fair Housing Foundation meet this requirement. Next, staff recommends funding Kingdom Causes Bellflower's Good Soils program at $25,000. Kingdom Causes offers employment opportunities through their Good Soils Industries program. The program assists in hiring residents that are underemployed and unemployed. They also provide on-the-job training, certification programs, and job acquisition skills for those who may have criminal record or are at risk of being homeless. The city has budgeted $109,567 of CDBG funds for the Volunteer Center. The Volunteer Center recruits, trains, supervises, and recognizes individuals who volunteer their time to serve Bellflower's low and moderate income residents. The Volunteer Center is also subject to the 15% public services cap and is primarily funded by CDBG. All three agencies participated in the program in prior years and met their goals without any issues. Next, CDBG partly funds code enforcement activities that address blight in CDBG-eligible areas. The city has budgeted $142,312 to continue these activities. The city continues to budget its debt service payment for its Section 108 loan that was used for several capital improvements in the town center area. This was a 20-year, $7 million loan taken out in 2004. The loan will be repaid in full in the next fiscal year with a payment of $538,567. As previously mentioned, up to 20% of CDBG funds can be used for administration of the program. Staff has budgeted $161,662 for staff and consultant costs in fiscal year 24-25. Lastly, there is approximately $150,000 being carried over from the prior year's new small business startup loan program, which was unable to be completed due to a delay in project completion. Staff is recommending rolling over this funding to fiscal year 24-25. This program is designated toward the small businesses at the Orchard at Bellflower Center. Next are home funds. Home funds are meant to retain and increase the affordable housing stock for renters and owners in the city and must serve low-income households. Eligible uses of these funds include homeowner rehabilitation, the development of affordable housing, property acquisition for the development of affordable housing, and home buyer activities. A maximum of 10% of the home allocation can be used for program administration, and at least 15% of the allocation must be set aside for a community housing development organization, also known as CHODO, for an affordable housing project. In fiscal year 24-25, the city will receive $357,302 in home funds. The city anticipates approximately $1.98 million in carryover funds and does not anticipate any program income. The total estimated funding is about $2.3 million. This slide depicts the proposed home budget for the next fiscal year. Staff has budgeted $250,000 for home improvement program. The home improvement program provides loans and grants to qualified low-income homeowners who wish to make qualifying improvements to their homes or repair health and safety issues. Approximately $2 million is set aside for one or more CHODO projects. This amount includes $1.98 million in carryover from last year and available carryover from the home improvement program. A CHODO must be a nonprofit agency that will develop, own, or sponsor an affordable housing project. Staff continues to look at using these funds for a potential permanent supportive housing project. And lastly, $35,730 has been budgeted for staff and consultant fees. On April 12, 2024, a notice of a 30-day public comment period and this public hearing was published in the Los Cerritos Community Newspaper. And the draft action plan was made available for public review and comments from April 12th through today. With that, our recommendation tonight is to open the public hearing, take testimonial and documentary evidence, and after considering the evidence, adopt resolution number 2421, or alternatively, discuss and take other action related to this item. That completes my presentation. Staff is available for any questions.
Thank you very much. You covered it all. So we're appreciative of that.
Thank
So let's start with some questions. Wendy, do you have any questions about what we've just presented?
For clarification, the Fair Housing, Kingdom Causes,
Volunteer Center.
Volunteer Center, they're the only ones that applied?
We received an economic development application as well, but they were new. It's for economic development, and we wanted wanted to give it to the public services agencies.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Dutton?
No questions, Mayor.
All right. Mr. Sanchez? Did we leave something out?
No, we didn't leave anything out. I'm just wondering, when was the last time we've increased the public agencies' amounts?
Well, whenever we can only use 15%. It's a 15% cap for the public services agencies.
Oh, it's a 15% cap. It's not minimum.
No.
Really?
Yes.
That limits what we can do.
Oh, well, there goes that question.
It's in the first chart.
I thought it was a minimum.
No.
It's a
Same
cap.
same thing with admin. There's 20%
Yeah,
cap on
cap.
admin.
So, for example, we couldn't shift funding from, can you put the slide back up? Oh, here it is. So we wouldn't be able to shift from code enforcement to Kingdom Causes per se, or from code enforcement to Fair Housing Services?
No.
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 Okay. Well, there goes that question. All right. So then for the purposes of the public and for an educational purpose, I know there was some comments made at tonight's public comments section, and then also in the survey of affordable housing and so forth. And I think it's paramount that we emphasize the home funds, the second. So if you go to the next chart or the next set of funding, these funds here, which is now going to equal 2.3, is how we've been. Unfortunately, the federal government doesn't give us all this money at once. It gives us to us in small lump sums. So we've been putting this aside. We've been obviously looking forward to eventually doing a project. And so I just want to highlight that eventually at a certain point when we have sufficient funding, we will be kind of helping address the concerns of the community and some of the members that came up this evening. So I just want to highlight that, and I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. San Ynez?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Looking at that chart, I think it could be a double-edged sword because we're not getting the money up front, the big chunk of money.
No.
It's every year we get this allocation of X number of dollars. So in a way, that's good because we're working with a partner to develop this permanent supportive housing. But my concern right now is there a time limit where we have to, I don't want to use the word spend, where we need to invest the money
Will it evaporate?
at some point in time? Is there a time frame, time limit?
So we need to use, is it about 79,000 by next year in September?
Yeah, the funds rotate, so you have to spend the oldest funds first that you carry over. And so the next time that we have to spend funds would be that 79,000 approximately. That's the next amount we have to spend or we lose it. So we still have a year to spend that.
Right, but my concern is the bulk of it on the Chodo, the $2 million. When do we need to invest that money?
That's part of that, and it's on a rolling time frame.
79,000 a year?
No, but it would depend on what the carryover was for that year that we would have to spend if you were on a 5-year rolling basis. So 79,000 was what we had left over 5 years ago that we carried over and now
Okay.
have to spend. So it's going to be in pieces as we go in each year. The
Right.
hope is that we get this money spent in the next fiscal year or two.
That 79,000, is it the case we're in on the next year? That pot becomes bigger that we need to spend. I'm assuming it's going to be because 79,000 is it's a drop in the bucket compared to $2 million.
It is, but it would be, the 79 would be the next fiscal year that we have to spend the money by.
Right,
There
right.
could be another amount that could be more than 79. We can look that up for you and get back to you with that amount and kind of show you what
Yeah, I think
what
we
the
need-
time frame is for when
Yeah,
we
I
have
think
to
we need to
spend that
start
money.
looking into that because because my concern is if we don't get a partner, then that money goes away, and I hate to lose $2 million eventually.
Understood.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get that information for you and
Yeah,
bring it
okay.
back to
Because
you.
I'm sure that we can spend the $79,000 easily, but I'm concerned about the $2 million.
It's a bigger amount.
Yeah, it's a big
Yes.
amount. Okay. And my next question is on the CDBG funds. There was a carryover of 246,000. Is that right on the first chart? Am I recalling correctly? 246. There you go. So based on my recollection, 150 of this is for the business assistance program for the Orchard project, right?
Yes.
And how about the rest, the 90,000? Where is the carryover from? Do you know?
Well,
I didn't have this chart before, so I just
No,
it
understood.
caught my attention.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Code enforcement.
Code enforcement.
Yeah, they
Okay,
did not
okay.
spend all their money.
Okay, so we can easily spend the money with no problem.
Correct.
Okay. And what's the time limit for this $150,000 to be spent? The 150 for the business assistance. Which layer is that coming from?
That's a little bit different because it's CDBG funds.
Is it on a 5-year layer or not?
I will double check for you, but that
Okay.
one we still have time. It's not as I don't believe it's as strict
Because
as
I
home
think
funds.
that was granted, that was
A
that
few
was
years
two-
ago.
2 years ago when we had the grand opening
No, on Cedar Street.
on Cedar, right?
Yeah.
That was 2 years ago. Okay.
Right. Yeah, we'll be coming back
Okay.
to you for some.
I just want to make sure that we don't leave money on the table.
No, absolutely.
Okay, all right, very good. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mayor.
So any other questions or comments before I
No.
look for a motion to open the public hearing?
A motion to open public hearing.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion by Councilmember Wendy Morris, supported by Councilmember Victor Sanchez, to open the public hearing. Without objection, that'll be the order. So if anybody'd like to come forward and make their comments on what we've just been discussing about monies coming from the government, we're all ears. Well, okay, crickets.
Motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Victor Sanchez, supported by Councilmember Sonny Sandianez to close the public hearing. Without objection, that'll be the order. So we're looking for a motion on this.
Before you do that, Mr. Mayor, I just want to comment Carla, to compliment Carla for a good presentation. Again, I understand this is your second time, right?
I think it's like my third.
Oh,
and then
third.
My
You're
first was
becoming
probably
a
on
professional
Zoom.
presenter. All right, very good. Good
Expert
job. Thank you.
status.
All right.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adopt resolution number 24-21, a resolution approving the fiscal year 2024-2025 annual action plan, authorizing the city manager to submit a AAP to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, and authorize the city manager to take all actions necessary to implement the programs identified in the AAP.
I'll second the motion.
All right, so we have a motion by Councilmember Victor Sanchez, supported by Councilmember Sonny Sandianez. Please poll the council.
Councilmember Santinas?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Dutton?
Aye.
Councilmember Morse?
Aye.
Councilmember Sanchez?
Aye.
Mayor Coops?
Aye. Moving on, public hearing, item C, Mr. Smoot.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Change the characters here a little bit.
In the meantime, That extra, I'm
So
glad you asked that
musical chairs.
question about where that extra funding was coming from.
Uh-huh.
Sounds like we have some more staffing available for code enforcement, just saying.
No, it's been spoken for already.
Sunny's Car Wash, yes, it is. So.
And Mr. Mayor, Beth and her team are going to be presenting this item.
that later.
Yeah. Already ready for the presentation.
Thank you, Mayor Coops. Tonight's presentation is going to be given by Associate Planner Catherine Brunn.
Thank you, Ms. Oba. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. This evening, I have a presentation for you regarding the de novo hearing of conditional use permit case number CU 23-03. So the subject property is outlined in white. It is located on the north side of Somerset Boulevard, located in between Bellflower Boulevard and Blaine Avenue. The property has a zoning designation of general commercial and a general land use designation of commercial. Okay, during the April 1st Planning Commission meeting, the commission discussed the proposed car wash, tunnel enclosure, building facade enhancements, noise, hours of operation, perimeter block walls, proposed driveways, ADA and employee parking and signage. At the conclusion of the meeting, the commission unanimously approved resolution number PC 24-03 with the following amendments: to remove the requirement for the wall enclosure and leave the facade as is with new paint, subject to staff level review, to change the operating hours from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. daily to 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. daily, make improvements to the existing block wall contingent upon a property survey to determine the ownership of the wall, and to separate the condition that the existing signage on the wall be removed. Following the Planning Commission meeting on April 1st, Councilmember Wendy Morris requested that the City Council reconsider the Planning Commission's decision, and at the April 22nd City Council meeting, Councilmember Morris expressed concerns regarding the approved aesthetic and design of the car wash building and for the project to mirror improvements made in other areas of the city. The City Council unanimously decided to schedule this de novo hearing to reconsider the project. The applicant is requesting to modify CU 8628 by converting the existing full-service car wash to an automated express car wash. The proposal is to demolish approximately 1,127 square feet of a restaurant and customer lounge to accommodate the new site layout, add self-service vacuum stalls as well. Initially, the applicant was proposing to operate between the hours of 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. daily. However, the applicant has requested to change their operating hours to 7 a.m. through 8 p.m. daily. Okay, so as part of this project, the applicant is proposing several modifications to the site layout. Customers will enter the site on Bellflower Boulevard and drive through the queue along the north side of the property. The queue is designed for up to 22 vehicles, and it wraps around the parking area to 2 pay stations located here. If the customer were to change their mind, they would be able to exit the property on Blaine Avenue and leave the queue. After the pay station, the customer will continue through the car wash tunnel and continue onto the parking area where there are 14 parking stalls to dry and vacuum their vehicle. And when they are done, they would exit out on Bellflower Boulevard. The existing drive aprons on Somerset Boulevard and the southerly driveway on Bellflower Boulevard will be removed and replaced with new curbs and gutters, and new landscape planters will be provided on site. The northerly driveway on Bellflower Boulevard will be widened to 40 feet, and the Blaine Avenue driveway will be reduced to 15 feet in width and serve as an exit only. In addition to the 14 parking stalls with self-service vacuums covered by a solid canopy, There will be one employee parking stall and one loading stall, and also one ADA vacuum stall. A new trash enclosure is proposed, as well as approximately 3,364 square feet of new landscaping. The existing office and restroom will remain inside the building, as well as all the equipment rooms, which will house the vacuum and car wash equipment. New equipment will be placed inside the car wash tunnel to convert it to the self-serve car wash. As shown here are the proposed elevations and the existing south elevation, which fronts Somerset Boulevard. As shown at the top, the applicant is proposing to add a stucco wall behind the existing wrought iron to enclose the car wash tunnel on the south elevation. There are no other improvements proposed to the exterior building or tunnel except for new paint, as the applicant wants to preserve the Googie architectural style as is. A recommended project condition is included to revise the architectural theme along this southern elevation, including the building facade and car wash tunnel enclosures, to the satisfaction of the Director of Planning and Building Services. Since this is a de novo hearing, the conditions in the draft resolution are those that are recommended by staff and not the conditions that were approved by the commission. There are currently 3 automated express car washes in the city. Tommy's Express and Star Express are 2 new construction facilities, and TLC, shown at the bottom, was also a full-service car wash converted to an automated express car wash. These 3 buildings have enclosed car wash tunnels and feature a modern design, including 2 with glass wall enclosures. Staff recommends that the design of the proposed project be consistent with these designs, such as incorporating a glass wall with aluminum frames. A queuing analysis and a noise study were prepared for the proposed project. The queuing analysis found that during peak operating hours, the queue of 22 vehicles is sufficient, and that the project is anticipated to serve approximately 450 vehicles per day at approximately 40 vehicles per hour. The queuing analysis recommended that customers be limited to a maximum of 8 minutes at the vacuum stalls to ensure that the vehicles are not waiting, and this has been included as a recommended project condition. The noise study analyzed the car wash with an enclosed tunnel. The study found that the project noise level will not perceptibly increase the overall ambient noise or require mitigation measures. All proposed mechanical equipment will be housed within mechanical equipment rooms. All required findings for the CUP as conditioned have been met, and the proposed use conforms with the zoning provisions and the city's general plan. The recommended project conditions are included in Exhibit A of the resolution. The recommendation is to open the public hearing, take testimonial and documentary evidence, and after considering the evidence, adopt resolution number 24-22, or alternatively discuss and take other action related to this item. This concludes staff's presentation. I am happy to answer any questions you may have. Our applicant, Mr. Noorani, and the business owner, Mr. Mustafavi, are also available in the audience to discuss this project and answer your questions. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. And we may have a few questions. We're going to start off with Council Member Sonny Sandinez. Any questions come from this presentation?
I guess so, Mr. Mayor. All right. Can you show the chart again with the queuing? There you go. Okay. So, can they enter through Blaine?
No, so Blaine Avenue will be
It's
exit only, correct.
All right. So when they go through here, go to the tunnel, after the car wash, they make a left turn here, right? And then do the vacuuming here.
Correct.
Correct. So they have to make a 3-point turn to go out. Is there anything that will prevent them from making a left turn here and then exit to Blaine?
No, they could continue back through the queue, but if there is a line, they would be waiting for the cars to go through the pay station and the tunnel
Yeah, because
before they could
I'm
exit.
kind of thinking that someone may try to avoid getting out of Bellflower Boulevard and just go. So there's a provision for that. Because they can make a left turn here, right?
Yes, they can.
Okay. And this is kind of open here, this area, okay. All right, good. And then you mentioned about limiting the time to 8 minutes. 8 minutes, right? Is there any provision for overflow? What if the customers exceed vacuuming?
So the 8 minutes came from the consultant or the engineer that prepared the queuing study. So that was their recommended time limitation. They also recommended that when there is a peak queue, that the car wash attendant monitor the cars coming out of the tunnel and the people that are using the vacuums to kind of move them along if necessary.
So they need to get out of this area after 8 minutes.
Correct. During peak
During
hours.
peak
yes.
hours. Okay. Okay. So and the staff report requires there's at least one attendant
Yeah.
at all times. At
Yes.
least one. At least one.
Yes,
Okay.
at least one, yes.
All right. Now you mentioned also there are three similar car wash in Bellflower, TLC, and then one on Artesia and one on Lakewood and Somerset. Okay. So in terms of the hours of operation, is there any restriction in the BMC for car wash?
So the BMC does not have restrictions on operating hours for car washes. Currently, TLC operates from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. Tommy's Express Car Wash operates from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And Star Express operates from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Okay, okay. So the request from the owner is similar to one of the existing car wash operations.
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
All right, very good. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Sanchez, any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Could you go back to the site plan? So to piggyback off of Councilmember Sunny Inez's question, I just want to make sure there is nothing stopping people from entering at this point, right? Like how there is at the Somerset and Lakewood. The reason I ask is because I want to make sure that there is no backlog onto Bellflower Boulevard.
That is correct. So the pay station is, there's the two pay stations are located over here on the Blaine Avenue side. So there's nothing preventing cars from entering the queue.
Okay. So perfect, great. Because I think there's at the other one on Somerset, there's like a hand thing. You don't even pay there. I think you just have to go through it and then you pay down a little later, right? So I want to make sure that we don't have that same issue
Correct,
here.
that is
So they
correct.
can drive in real quick and they don't have to stop till they're over here.
Yes.
Okay. All right, good. That's my only concern that I had. And then with regards to the noise, in the study, did it demonstrate that the enclosure of those with the similar style as the other locations would prevent that noise being captured by the neighbors?
Yes, that is correct. So the noise study that was prepared did model the car wash with an enclosure on both the north and the south side of the building. Right now, the car wash is open on the south side, so it's just a wrought iron fencing, so you can kind of see how the vehicles are shown there. So the noise study that was prepared did model it with an enclosure. On that south side to prevent the noise from.
Now, correct me if I'm mistaken here, but this is the one of two car washes that it actually abuts residences. Because I think two of the other three do not. I think the one on Lakewood and Somerset is next to a mobile home park, but the other two are more commercial, completely surrounded commercial.
So TLC does neighbor to a new residential development.
Oh, that's right, the city venture.
And then with this car wash facility here, Belcomp, on the north side, There is a multifamily residential to the north, but it is separated quite a distance because the carports for the apartment complex are located directly adjacent, and then there's a drive aisle, and then the apartments quite a bit farther up from there, yes.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate the presentation. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. Mr. Dutton, questions?
Sure.
Gonna let Wendy go last. 'cause-
Back to the the noise ratings on this. It was modeled after a closed-in one, like the ones we have in town.
Yes,
and you see it in other
exactly.
towns.
That's correct.
Why was that?
Why was it modeled with an enclosure?
Well, yeah, well, they're isn't it they estimating their noise level on this open one as if it was closed,
Yes, so it
and it's
was
wide open on the south side.
correct. So currently it is open, but the model was for the new with the new equipment. So it was modeled with the new equipment and
With a
an
closed
assumed
wall, with a glass
assumed
wall.
enclosure. Yes.
So then the noise estimates that we have are no good.
From what was approved by the Planning Commission, correct, because the Planning Commission decision was to leave the wall open.
Yeah, maybe we can get more from the applicant.
Mr. Mayor, members
Yeah.
of the council, just to be clear, as was given in the initial presentation, this is a de novo hearing, meaning that it doesn't matter what the planning commission decided. This is a brand new application, and for all intents and purposes, and the original recommendation from staff is, I believe, part of the recommendation for tonight. So none of the conditions that the planning commission had considered and entered into the record are before you for consideration. It's only what the staff originally recommended.
Got it. But so the data that we have, the modeling of the noise, is from a different structure than the one proposed.
Councilmember Dunton,
Yes.
hopefully I can help clarify. So the way the plans came in and were submitted, or I'm sorry, the way the plans came in and were modified and presented is that there is or was a block wall enclosure along the south elevation.
Okay.
So the noise study was based off of that plan of it being enclosed with a block wall along the south side.
Okay, so now what I see here is what I have in the information I got. It's open. It's a proposed car wash with the whole south side open. So sound can spill. There's no sound can spill out onto Somerset.
So the plans that were submitted show a block wall that's along the south side. You'll hear testimony from the applicant.
Okay.
He would request that there is no enclosure on the south side.
Well,
that
I
it
get
remain
that. I
open.
get that. I'm fine with that. But we're going off of a noise study that's no good, right?
Correct.
Okay.
If you, yes, the way
Okay.
it was modeled was with an
That's what I didn't
enclosure on the south
understand.
side.
Okay. Okay. So with that said, now we know where we're at. The 8-minute vacuuming rule in the vacuuming spaces, is that only policed at times when there's a long line or there's trying to get the things moving? I get cars per hour and you want to do so many.
I believe it's at peak hours.
And who
where it
come
would
up
have
with
to
the
be
8 minutes? Was that our department?
No, it's actually the consultant.
The
that reviewed
consultant,
the
okay,
queuing.
they
Yeah.
analyze that. Okay, that's something I can talk about. Yeah. And then the Blaine gate here, is there going to be a control arm there for exit only?
At this time, there is no control arm proposed.
So somebody can come in and go, hey, let's pay and get, so they actually it could.
They actually
Good,
could.
okay. Yeah, it's something I just talked to the applicant about, because to me, it's one way or the other. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the problems could be there, if there would be. It's only on, I guess Saturdays is the busiest day, but we can talk to the applicant on that. Then the aesthetics of the existing iron beams, the 9 iron beams that in our artist rendering is painted blue, it's just, there's no lighting gonna be on them. I didn't see anywhere in the plans that lighting was. Like on, they're gonna be light up, any up lights coming down, up?
That is correct. As
Okay.
proposed, there were no
Okay.
lights
Okay.
on there.
Okay, that's all I have for now.
You're up.
So one of my questions was about the noise study, but as it's been answered, there was one done, but it was with an enclosure. And I had seen the original renderings of the business that owned it before the new people bought it. Those renderings actually showed a glass enclosure. So my question is there a reason that we're not enclosing it still for a noise level? There's a bus stop right there next to, on Somerset. There's kids that walk home from school every day. There's a school that lets out right there. I was just, so basically, why are we not enclosing it? That's my.
Councilmember Morris, so as presented by the staff and as included in your plans, there is a block wall enclosure that's along the south side. Staff is recommending that something different other than a block wall enclosure be provided for aesthetic purposes.
Yes.
More similar to the types of developments that have occurred recently with the new car washes. When you open the public hearing, I'm sure you'll hear testimony from the applicant, and he can answer as to why he wants to keep the south side open.
And then I do have another question. Was there gonna, I didn't hear if you guys said, was there gonna be anything done to the sign on the corner of Bellflower and Somerset? It's a yellow sign?
Yes, so the existing pole sign that's at the corner of Bellflower and Somerset Boulevards, there is a condition of approval that requires that the sign be brought up to current code standards, and that a master sign plan be submitted for all the signage at the site. So that is something that staff will review to ensure compliance with the municipal code.
Just one more question at the moment. Was the survey done for the brick wall? Who owns it? Which side of the property, the apartments or the car wash?
Yes, so the applicant did provide a copy of the survey following the planning commission meeting, and it does appear that the wall is owned or is on the north property
Yes.
of the residential.
Okay. That's all I have at the moment.
Any other questions? Anything developed?
I'll follow up. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just for clarity then, so the staff recommendation would remove the wrought iron and they would be installed or enclosed with a similar style as the other three that we have in the city, right? With the kind of a window style, visible, clean.
That's correct. So the way that the condition's written, it allows the maximum flexibility for the director, myself, to come up with a viable exterior elevation. For the record, we are looking for something very similar to what has been done in the past.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay.
I do have a follow-up question then.
Go right ahead.
So if it was glass, let's just use, if it was glass, would the glass be inside the wrought iron and the wrought iron would still stay, like aesthetically, but you would just have glass inside?
So,
Councilmember Morris, this is an alternative design that was submitted with a previous application for the car wash. So this is kind of an example of what the car wash facade could look like, and something that I think staff would support. So this shows the enclosure with the glass and aluminum frames, and the wrought iron being removed.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor?
Yes.
Okay, I was gonna wait. There's one thing that's been bothering me is the tunnel height. Every car wash I see, we've in Bellflower or other towns, are double the height. And I was gonna wait until I got the applicant, and then you show me this picture. And so I just see this, and that's where I was gonna go with the applicant and ask why, because it just seems like a low tunnel. I don't even know how they get the equipment in there. Kind of, it's still gonna be my asking of the question there, but anyway, that's where my head's at. And
Okay. All right, so, we can open the public hearing. I need a motion.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Mayor, to open the public hearing.
I'll second.
All right, so we have a motion by Councilmember Victor Sanchez, supported by Councilmember Wendy Morris. Without objection, that'll be the order to open the public hearing. So please introduce yourselves. I assume you're the operators of the car wash, or the owners. And if you put your name down there so we can write our minutes in the right order.
Good evening. My name is Makan Mustafavi. I represent the ownership of the car wash, and I'm here to answer some questions and provide some clarity.
When you say that you're representative, does that mean you're a legal representative?
I'm
or
part
you're
owner. I'm one
a
of the
part
owners.
owner?
Yeah,
Okay.
there's four of us.
Okay.
We did provide some 3D renderings just so you have a lot of great questions and a lot of, I guess, misinformation that I want to kind of clear up so you guys have a better understanding of what we present to do. What we originally decided to do is, our brand is to, when we purchase these car washes, is we want to restore the original look and feel of the car wash, but bring it more of a modern, get it to a modern aesthetic. This particular car wash is going to go through a $3 million renovation. So it isn't just lipstick on a pig paint. It's actually going to have about $3 million worth of renovation. And we did we did provide 3D images of what it would look like. If, Catherine, would you be able to bring up the 3D renderings?
I don't have them in the presentation, however, they were provided in your packets.
So yeah, the 3D
right.
renderings is how it will look. One of the main reasons why we do plan on enclosing the inside of the car wash. The enclosure will go behind the aluminum. The objection we had with the planning commissioner was they were requesting that we do glass. And the reason why we don't want to do glass is because of all the chemicals that are used inside, and over time, it's going to look extremely run down, and that's what we don't want for the car wash to look. And I have pictures of what I'm talking about, of a similar car wash when they have glass versus what we do. So I have here, and I'll pass this out to you guys. This is one, yeah. So the first part is when you have an express car wash with glass, over time, this is what will happen with the glass, which what we don't want to see here in the city of Bellflower. And then the second part is our actual existing express car wash, which is similar to this, which we remodeled, that has an enclosure behind the fence. And you can see from the pictures how it would look from the street of an actual existing car wash that we went. The inside of the tunnel, you can kind of see we took in a similar car wash like this, we remodeled it and brought it up to modern times. And you can see inside the tunnel what the picture would look like and how it looks from the outside and how the panels look on the other side of the fence. So what we're really trying to do is avoid putting in the glass, because that's ultimately when it gets tagged, when it gets a lot of soap and mildew on it, it just really looks run down after 2-3 years, and it's not really it won't give the nice aesthetic as it does from day one. And the main reason why the Planning Commission decided not to do the glass was the same exact reason. Because when we demonstrated that when you do put glass, it does look really, really run down after a while. But if you have the wrought iron and the enclosure, not only will this enclosure allow for sound to be absorbed, but it also gives it a cleaner look for a much, much longer time. And if it does get tagged, or if anything does happen to it, it's really easy to take it off. And this section of our Encino will kind of show exactly how that'll look. And then the 3D renderings that we provided will give you an idea of how it will look with the landscaping, with the pay stations, with the cars going in, and kind of just the look and feel of it. Again, it's a $3 million just renovation budget, just to bring it up to modern times. What we didn't want to do is make it look like these newer, soulless, kind of empty car washes that are, I mean, I know it's a car wash, but we just don't want to just do this big, basic box, no architecture, nothing really exciting to look at. This is something that's been here. This used to be Compton Boulevard, and this car wash has been here. We just want to preserve it and make it look really nice so that the neighborhoods can enjoy a better car wash, because it's really run down and nothing really too exciting. But hopefully after we remodel it, make it look like the 3D renderings, you guys will really appreciate it.
So I have a question. You hope to run this on with, said 2 employees are employed, but only 1 is on site to conduct the wash. Does that sound right?
Sure. Yeah. I'll explain how it works. If you can go to the yeah, there we go. Perfect. So what happens is most of our car washes is based on a membership model. So unlimited car washes. You can come and wash your car as much as you want. Usually what happens during the first 2 months or 3 months that we have an initial opening, there's a learning curve, so we have a lot more staff on site to train the employees and train the customers as far as the flow and how to use the system. And basically what happens is once the customers get acquainted with how it works, it's pretty much self-explanatory on how to do it. You have 1 employee that helps with either the pay station or just kind of answering any questions for members that come in. But generally what happens is the cars come in, they queue up. And the reason why we have an exit lane is sometimes cars come in and they don't want to get a machine wash. They don't want to have scratches on their paint, or they feel like this is not the wash they want. They want a hand wash. And so we have that option for them to exit, just so that they're not forced to wash their car if they don't want to. Otherwise, you have to back everybody out. So that exit's very important to have there. But once the cars come in, we have license plate scanners where the pay stations are. So once you're a member, it scans your license plates, the gates automatically open up, you go right in. And usually what happens is when members come in, the first time they're excited, they go into the vacuum area, they vacuum and detail their car. But then 2 days from the second day or the third day they go, they just drive in and drive right out. You don't need to wash your car again. Sometimes some cars come in, they wash the car and then go in and they wash the car a second time. Because let's say the car was really, really dirty, they have an unlimited package, they can wash it as much as they want. So they'll go through it 2 or 3 times and get the car really washed. And that's the reason why we have that part open, so they can just go right in and right out. But usually, as far as the waiting time, 8 minutes, we've never had that happen in any of our other washes, because usually your first time you really vacuum the inside of the car, but then the second, third, or fourth, fifth time you do, you don't really spend that much time in there. Average time is about 3 or 4 minutes. We have about 5-minute stickers on there to let the customers know, hey, 5 minutes the limit, just be courteous to other people, but we rarely had those as being an issue. And as far as the height of the tunnel, it works well with the equipment, because the equipment doesn't really need to be too high. That is it's more than high as far as the height of the inside of the tunnel for what it is. Again, there were some other good questions that I had. I hope I answered most of them, because I did hear some good questions up here.
Let me ask you about the 1 employee.
Yes.
Now, you're going to have more at the beginning to get people trained.
Yes.
Now, when I use one of these type of car washes in town, there has to be someone there to guide you on, because there's a place where your tires have to fit.
Correct. Inside
and so
the
that
tunnel.
takes 1 person all the time, just guiding people into that track.
Yes.
So if you've got 1 person there, that's 1 person. Nobody else is going to be able to be there to instruct people. You got 8 minutes and then you need to move on. You don't have anybody over there helping accept a payment or sell more washes. I mean, 1 guy's going to have a lot of expectation to be able to keep everything moving.
Yeah, we do have, like for example, for summertime, Saturday, 10 o'clock, that's the busiest hour. We do have additional employees that will come and help and assist until the wash runs itself. There will be more than 1 employee, but in the beginning, there's a lot more, and then over time, it gets reduced down a little bit.
Now, do you have people you call it the vacuum area, but they take liberties, like they're going to detail their car. And you can see a basket comes out, and pretty soon they're wiping down the tires, the wheels, cleaning the windows on the inside. Must not have much of that activity, but I see that at other places all the time.
Well, inside the tunnel, we have 2 equipment that we put in. It's a buff and shine, which basically buffs the car after. So there's vacuum, there's blowers in there that dry the car. Then there's a buffing system that buffs the car. So really, there's not much drying.
But the interior of the car is not being touched.
Correct. And interior, again, we do see it occasionally that some people do. And if there's a backup of cars, then we ask them to leave. But usually if there's 3 or 4 or 5 stalls available, just as a courtesy to the customer, you just got to let them kind of do. But you do, enforce.
Yeah.
It is a fine line of like customer service and being a little bit aggressive.
Now, if I'm coming to your wash here and I just want to vacuum my car, I can just drive in here and go directly to the vacuum area without going into this other area. What's to keep that from happening?
Correct, and that does happen at some of the washes. That's the job of the manager to go in and check the license plates to make sure that they are actual customers. And if they're not customers, I would ask them to go through wash. We do put a sign that says, step 1, wash a car, and then free vacuums after paid wash. So there are signs, there are instructions. Again, there will be employees in the beginning to explain that, but you do get the occasional.
You can see how these guys come in there for a freebie.
Yeah,
just to
it
vacuum,
happens.
because the vacuums are there for free.
Of course, it happens in all the express washes. It's just something that you have to address every single time when a customer does that.
Are you going to have any vending machines or any kind of places to buy confectionery?
No.
Nothing like that.
Usually what we do right by the pay stations, there will be some like towels, and we give out free towels for customers and free sprays like window sprays and stuff like that. It's just for self-serve, and once they use it, they just put it back, and it's like a give and take free service, but nothing, we're not selling really anything.
What does a monthly car wash cost?
We haven't gone to the, we started 2 years ago. We bought this in 2020. We've been dealing with planning for 18 months to get to this point.
Okay.
So we don't even know when this will be
Yeah,
finished.
but you run a lot of other washes. You got to understand
They generally cost $10 for a basic wash, $15 and $20, and then the memberships are usually $20 a month to $29 a month. And the $29 a month is basically all the bells and whistles with the wax and Armor Alls and the tire shines and everything.
So how many washes do you own?
I'm sorry?
How many washes do you own?
We own 5.
Okay. So this would be your 6th?
No, this is the 5th.
This is the 5th one.
Yeah. There is one in Santa Monica that's in the same planning stage, and one in Bellflower that's in planning stage. We have one in Hawthorne that's already in Express. It's going through a conversion to incorporate our colors and our brand. There's one in Encino that's an existing older car wash that we converted. And this is also going to be converted. Same with our Santa Monica. Santa Monica is, again, it's been there for 70 years. That one's the same structure, same aesthetics, and all we're doing is spending $2.5 to $3 million renovating it, which is brand new. The entire concrete is going to be redone, brand new tunnel. All the equipment is updated. Everything is basically updated. The only thing that's not updated is the actual structure. We keep the actual structure because we need the length of the tunnel, but everything else is pretty much updated from top to bottom.
How many vacuum areas are you going to provide? How many stations?
There's 14.
You think that's enough?
No. No. Ideally, we'd like to have 20, but to get the handicap and to get the loading, we don't really need a loading zone because there's really nothing being delivered. It's chemicals once a month that we get, and that's like a 5-minute drop-off. We really don't need a loading because we have nothing coming in. And the employee parking. We could theoretically put vacuums on the employee parking and in the loading and make it 16 vacuums, but it's a requirement that we do have a loading even though we don't need it.
No, you were providing one employee parking space, weren't you?
Correct. We still are.
And
yeah, it's
so you're only going to have one employee if you only have one place to park unless they ride a bike to work.
We have loading parking also, but that's for loading.
Okay. So that's the questions I started off with. Maybe we'll see if that permeates some other ones here.
In order to add more employee parking, we have to eliminate vacuums.
No, I get it.
And
I'm
it's
not
not going to
sure
be
you
used.
can run that place with just one person, though, based on what I see on the other activities. You know?
Correct.
And there's always somebody doing something that isn't quite copacetic in these washes that you need to be aware of. You know?
Yes.
All right, Mrs. San Ynez, have any questions from discussion?
Yeah, just for clarification, we're talking about the 8-minute limit.
Yes.
So how do you monitor that?
The way you monitor it is the busiest time for these express car washes are Saturday 10 a.m. Monday through Friday, you don't really get that busy because there's a consistent flow. Saturday 10 o'clock is really from I would say 10 a.m. to about 1 p.m. is when you're really, really busy. That's when you get the most amount of cars. That's the time that you'd most likely have issues with the vacuums. In the beginning, again, there's a lot more employees to kind of get everyone in the routine of get in. Our brand is called Quick Wash. It's come in, get a quick wash, and head on out. Usually what we do is, if there's vacuums available, we tend to not say anything to the customer because we do have signs that say 5 minutes for vacuuming inside. And the car wash does a thorough job of drying off the car. We use a reverse osmosis water system, which it just evaporates without any spots. Plus we have the buff and shine, and we have automatic Armor All applicators. So as the car is driving out, you get Armor All on the car, and you get buffed on the way out. So really there's no Armor All application, and there's really no drying of the exterior of the car. The only thing there is windows, if they want to clean the inside of the windows, which we generally don't see too much of that, but the vacuuming, sometimes if a car is very, very dirty, they do spend a little bit of time. But we usually see 5 or 6 minutes. It never really gets to that 8-minute mark. And if it does, and there's a line of cars waiting, then we will go and say, you need to, hurry up.
And how would you enforce that during peak hours?
You just have to be, it's a fine line of just courtesy. Just, you have to present to the customers that there's other customers waiting. Would you mind, please, hurrying it up? But again, it doesn't go more than 3 or 4 minutes usually on the drawing, because the equipment we put in is some of the highest quality equipment, and we do put enough blowers in there that it does a really good job of drying out the car.
Okay. The other question I have is, have you established, was it staff report that the block wall is not owned by them, owned by the residential units?
Correct.
Okay. I guess my other question to you is, have you read all the conditions?
We do. We had objected to some of the conditions, which I would
Okay.
like to bring up.
So would you like to bring up those conditions that you're
Yes.
objecting, since these are de novo hearing?
Yes,
All
yes.
right.
So it falls back to the original staff report. And in the original staff report, we wanted to modify the hours from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And the reason why we want to modify the hours is because with the express car wash, you kind of run with the summer and winter. In the winter, you have less hours, so you reduce your hours. And in the summer, you expand your hours. That's why we want the 7
Okay.
a.m. to 8 p.m.
All right.
The other issue we had is I guess with the planning commissioner requesting that we do glass, and we didn't want to do glass. And the main reason for that glass is because it loses the architectural and aesthetics of the car wash, and it just will not look good in a few years. And that's one of our biggest concerns. We don't want the car wash to look run down after a few years. We like to preserve the car wash, and that's what we would like to be able to do. And as far as
You give us examples of the car wash in
that one's in Van Nuys.
Van Nuys, okay. And there's graffiti here. Are you saying that there won't be graffiti if it's aluminum?
So in ours, if you look at ours, we have, you can see how the white wall that we have inside the tunnel, it's on the Encino, our car wash. The white.
Okay, the one with wrought iron fence?
Yes, yes. So, it's set back inside the tunnel about 2 feet. So
Right.
what happens is you have the wrought iron, and
This
then
is- this
exactly,
photo. Okay.
exactly. Then it's set that white wall is set back about 2 feet from the wrought iron. And if anyone does graffiti it, it's really easy for us to clean it, because that is designed for all
So
this.
it's not the material that prevents graffiti, it's the wrought iron fence that
That
prevents
helps
graffiti.
a lot. That helps.
I just want
a
to
lot.
clarify
Yeah.
that.
If you notice on the glass, when you do graffiti on the glass, once you wipe it off with chemicals, it still leaves a streak of the actual graffiti. The paint is removed, but it's still etched in there. So it still doesn't really.
Especially if they use acid. I know
Well,
that.
Yeah,
okay.
but you can see how it will look after a few years with
Alright.
all the chemical and soaps hitting it.
Okay, anything else on the conditions that you are objecting to?
The major one is just not us not wanting to do the glass.
So the glass and then the operating hours.
And the operating hours. And I believe, Sean, was there another? That's it? Yeah, I believe those were our two biggest things.
Okay, very good. I'm sure that we
Oh,
will.
one last thing. I apologize. Catherine, the picture, if you go back to that original picture that you guys said that was submitted, so this one, okay, this particular design was submitted by the party previous to us purchasing the property. So they had submitted this to the city, and this didn't pencil out for them. We hired the same architect that did the design because the application was already in the process, And so what we did is we said, this design does not work for us. It didn't work for the other guy. They bailed. We purchased the property 2 years ago, and we worked with the same architect to speed the process up. We thought it would be faster. Go with the same architect and redesign it to what we wanted to do, which is the 3D rendering, and then resubmit. And then, you know.
Well, let me just add, this is just a sketch, a study sketch. This was not a final design for the previous applicants. There's just some study. Me, myself, I'm not in favor of it, but it was just a study. It's overscaled, and it doesn't seem like it preserves the aesthetic of the existing architecture. It's like a half and half, glass on a modern glass on a previous design. Me myself, I'm not in favor of it. So it was just a study.
Yeah, and this picture's been haunting us because every time we go to submit our plans, the planning commissioner throws it back and says, do the original design, but that was not our design. That was never our intention. Our intention was always to, purchase the wash and restore it and keep the aesthetic where it's at, but really upgrade it and modernize it.
All right. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So just to confirm, your Encino location.
Yes.
The one with the white wall here.
Yes.
Essentially, this is what it would look like for us.
Correct.
It would be a white wall.
Well, you have so that white wall also has like a 3-foot CMU wall in front of it. You see the CMU wall? So it's going to be a lot smaller. You would just, where you see the car there will be a white wall on the other side of it. And it'll match the same colors as the car wash with the gray, white, and the blue. Those are our 3 colors, white, gray, and blue. And then inside the tunnel, there's a picture that'll show how it'll look inside the tunnel, exactly that. So that enclosure double encloses the entire enclosure. So it's like an enclosure within an enclosure. As far as sound, it's much more durable and a lot quieter than if it was just enclosed on one side.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that clarification. So, staff, I have a question for you. How long have our other car washes been in operation with the glass? And then have we run into this issue? Because this just looks like a rundown place no matter what. Are we having the same issue with the other locations?
Not to my knowledge. I think out of the 3, the oldest one is probably Somerset and Lakewood. That has probably been built at least for 4 years now.
Okay.
Shortly after that, I think it's a toss-up between TLC conversion and...
And so then the next question would be, from a code enforcement standpoint, and this may be a question for Brian, what does our BMC allow us to enforce? Because obviously, we would not allow for this to become the norm.
I think that's more than the norm.
Yeah.
That is broke down as
that is broke down. That
blight.
is yes.
Councilmember Sanchez, yes, that would be a code issue if we go after like visual blight and dilapidated exteriors of a property. If it's not meeting the original conditions, then that would be something that we could write up and go after them for.
Okay, because here's my thing. My concern, realistically, this is not appealing to me. I mean, I grew up on that street, right around the corner. If this is what I was driving into every day, I mean, yes.
Can you show it on the screen?
It is on the back, on the last few pages of your email. I can email you the link if you want.
I think you can
Catherine.
project. Can't you project that? You can project a photo. You used to be able to do that.
Marina to the rescue.
The pro to the rescue.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we got a
Exactly,
gene.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Oh, yeah.
Got to go to old school.
Yeah, but it still works.
Councilmember
Technology.
Sanchez,
Yes.
we don't have to do the wall also. The plastic inside, we don't
Right.
have to do it. That's what we brought up with the planning commission. We said we didn't want to do it, and they said, we agree with you. This has been there for 70 years. They haven't had any noise complaints to date, and no one's really complained about it. And that was one of the reasons why they removed it, because they didn't want that either. And then we ended up here.
Well, I would like to say that, I mean, I'm a customer there, so
Yes.
it's a hand car wash. There, at this present moment, there's
Correct.
really not a lot of noise with somebody washing cars with a hand. Now, when machinery starts going through there, that was my concern.
So the noise is only from the
machinery comes in.
from the blowers.
But when
It's-
you drive through, and I've driven through car washes that are express washes,
Yeah.
they're loud inside. When you're inside your car, it's loud inside. And my thought is that there's a bus stop right there. Again, children walking home from school, parents, whoever, just, I walk by there all the time when I do walk.
Sure.
Not saying I walk all the time,
Yeah.
just saying. But it would be noisy.
So it's noisier in the car. I agree with you. It is noisy. But when they're spinning, they're hitting the window of the car. That's why it's louder inside the car. If you go on the outside of an express car wash, you'll hear that when the cars go through the blowers, that's when it gets really, really loud. And a lot of these studies is for the blowers mainly because, like in other cities, when we have issues, it's always the decibel count from the blowers. It's never the actual, like the side brushes or the top wraps or anything like that.
But the blowers will be going.
Oh, of course.
I mean,
Well, blowers are there
every-
now.
Every wash.
Yeah, well, blowers are there now. So in the self-serve, what we have now, we have those blowers as well. So once the cars get hand washed and it goes towards the end, those blowers are the ones that blow in the water off the car before it comes out and the guys hand wash it. And the new blowers have mufflers, so they are quieter than the existing blowers in there. I just see this all day long. That's why we have full serve and we have express, and the ones that we're converting from full serve to express. Yeah, most of them, sometimes we keep the blowers that are already there and we just add on to it. But this particular one, we're doing all brand new equipment. So all new blowers, all new machinery.
You have the floor, Victor.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, I think if you're if the white enclosure, the walls are proposed, and that provides a better service for your customers, that's great. What else could you, if you don't want to per se do the glass?
Yeah.
What else could you do versus the wrought iron? Because I understand preserving the overall integrity of the building, the arches or the this look, but
We
how
could
do we go away
enclose-
from the wrought irons?
so we
because the
could-
wrought irons to me say something else. Just bear with me here.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else could you do?
Well, again, it's difficult to add modern glass. And again, the glass with all the chemicals just gets really dirty. So what we're trying to do is either do the white panels, or we could do a black mesh on the metal so it looks all black going all the way down. And it just doesn't, so it won't have the white stark look, but the white does look good when you do see it from afar. I've seen it. I just wanted to show like close-up examples, but if you really do if you go to the actual wash, you'll see it looks a lot better. The 3D rendering will show kind of what it'll look like.
So, but if you have this look,
That's the inside of the tunnel.
that's the inside of the tunnel, right?
Yeah.
So okay, so if you have this look, how does
I would pull up the 3D rendering because it won't. What you're looking at is just Encino. The
Right.
3D rendering of the exterior is what you're exactly. That's what you're gonna see because you have your CMU wall that's about 3 feet high.
Yeah.
And then you have the landscaping on it, and then you have the design of the car wash that comes down a lot. So your actual wrought iron, if you see it there, it's not that visible.
So let's go to this. This is approved right now, right?
No. That's our Encino car wash.
No, I know.
Oh,
but
yeah. That's
if
all
you
approved.
were to do, this is approved to be, or not approved, but sorry, this is what you would propose right here, acceptable, right?
Inside the
In
tunnel.
Bellflower, for the tunnel.
Correct.
So wouldn't this prevent the fogginess or the what you're talking about, the chemicals getting on the glass themselves?
Yeah, that would serve the purpose of just preventing but then you would have that and a glass. It just doesn't.
So what I would propose is to have, and it would be this that you're or showing us here today, and then, oh, thank you. Yeah, so what you're proposing here is these enclosed walls, right? That's gonna help with your noise, which is what, in your study, that's what you propose in a way. Then my next thing would be, can you go back to the actual rendering?
There we go.
Because I hear your concerns about graffiti.
Yeah.
I do hear that. So why not design your flower bed here to prevent, people from being able to walk up onto it and graffiti your.
They could throw a brick at it too.
Well, it could, but I don't think we've had that issue, right? You look at the other 3 locations, and they've done that. They've created buffers.
This is literally like 2 feet off the
No, I know.
sidewalk.
I know.
Yeah.
I walked it every day to school.
Yeah.
I know where it's at. Can you show the other 3 locations? Sorry. Hey, it's good practice though. Still working. Technology. This is a good example here.
Yeah, that's set way farther back.
No, I understand that, but I think that you have room in between those taller. Are those metal? The pillars, the tall pillars that you have, to do something similar where you could prevent people from being able to walk, up to whether it's glass or aluminum or not aluminum, but what's the word? Acrylic, like you're proposing in your. Or like you have in your other location. Let me see. Where's it at?
Well, we would do either or, not both.
No, I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm just saying, I would prefer to do the acrylic one inside because that's just more practical and it.
The acrylic.
Yeah, versus doing the glass because the glass is just not. It's just going to be dirty all the time. It's just not going to look good. Because even if we do it between the two, like you were proposing, you're still going to have dirt on the inside and the outside. And now we have a barrier on the inside. We have the rod on the outside. It's just gonna. Well, we're trying to promote cleanliness, clean car wash, and modern and express. That's why from all the other ones that we've done, we found that this would. I don't like to put the white wall in there. It's easier to clean the car wash. It's much easier to clean, but it looks better without it, which is what the 3D rendering has. But to I guess come to a middle ground. We're saying, well, we do it here. I agree.
2 feet within. 2
yeah,
feet in.
2 feet within, so that it prevents noise from the blowers and it prevents any graffiti or glass breaking or anything like that. Because there's really nothing to break. You can't throw rocks at it. You can't tag it. It'll look clean and it'll last longer. Because these car washes, once they get converted, they stay like this for the next 20, 30 years.
Right.
They're not going to get modified.
But they're not going to get run down either.
Hope not.
No, they won't.
Well, Tommy's is.
Not with us.
That's why we have a CUP.
Yeah, that's why we have a CUP.
Yeah.
Okay, no, I appreciate your thoughts and your comments. I think for sure if your study demonstrates the need for a sound barrier, and if this is the way you're proposing it, I could definitely see some landscaping just being improved to help with the aesthetics.
We can definitely put larger like plants that'll grow on the metal to kind of like cover it. We can definitely do that and use more landscaping on the street side to provide more cover.
Okay.
Definitely open to that.
All right. Those are my thoughts for now, Mr. Mayor.
Give me your thoughts on his change of hours. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I understand his request for flexibility, and I think the other 3 locations have similar hours. There's one that has a 7 to 8, so I think that's fair. It's a fair request.
All right, how about you, Sonny? What do you think about the hour change? These requests.
As I asked the question earlier, how do the 3 car wash operate? So one of them operates between 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. So there's a precedent already.
All right, so you wouldn't mind him having those hours in Bellflower?
No, it's been allowed, so.
Okay. All right.
Same with me while we're doing the hours. Hours are fine.
All right, how about you on hours?
Yeah, the 7 a.m. to
All
8
right,
p.m.
we're halfway there.
That was easy stuff first. Easy stuff first. You should have told me it was an $800,000 donation coming. I would have come prepared. I just came with some color photos.
Okay, Mr. Dutton.
Oh, my turn? Okay. So this is you hired the architect that was on the last project
Correct.
that you bought it for. And did this architect do the rendering that we saw with the glass and the higher roof?
For the previous buyers, yes.
So he drew that. what we saw then, I guess.
Well, the previous so it was previously in
Yeah, you did it
escrow.
for the previous buyers,
Yeah,
but
they,
okay.
they wanted that.
They
and
want,
then they
okay, because he
backed
said
out
he
of the deal.
didn't, he would not do that. That's what he was saying one thing, and I assumed that he was the one that drew it.
Correct, for the
Okay.
previous buyers.
All right. But anyway, I get what he was saying, but it just seemed odd that.
This was submitted February of 2022.
Uh-huh.
We bought this November of 2022, and we submitted our first set. I met with Catherine January 23rd of 2023 to discuss the plans.
I get why you're not doing this, because it's cheaper to do what you're doing than this.
Well, we're
I get it.
To
It's
be
a
honest
lot
with you,
cheaper.
that's ugly.
And you brought up the maintenance issues, and just so you know, the express car, well, the express car wash has been around for some time, and it's a proven, and I have not seen any even close to what you gave us. I really wish you would have brought, unless you have pictures of your other 4 car washes and what they look like.
So the Encino one,
it would have been nice. Hey, this is what I'm doing over here in this city, but
Yeah.
it would have been great to have that here tonight.
if we can pull it up, we have a website. It's Quick Wash.
Oh, that'd be great.
If you want to pull it up, you can see what that one is.
Yeah, let's see what you got going on. That's great.
Yeah, we will know what bar we're dealing with.
Yeah, if you just Google Quick Wash Encino, there should be some pictures. QUIK Wash Encino. This is the only one that's finished. The other 2, for like Bellflower, is in full serve mode. If you click on photos, you should, and on the right side, if you go to Yelp, you might be able to see more on Yelp. The first one I think has it. Yeah, Yelp has the picture. So if you click on that, yeah. These are just some Yelp photos. This is the toothpaste station. So when the cars come in, they go through the toothpaste stations.
Mm-hmm.
This is the vacuums. And then there's some this is the inside of the tunnel. This is, again, the inside of the tunnel. This is how if you go back, yeah. Right here, you can kind of see how
Got a
it
little
is
video,
inside
yeah.
the tunnel, yeah. Again, the equipment's not too big or.
You got any sound with that?
There should be. Is there sound?
I was joking.
Oh, well, it's the, yeah. But you can see the equipment is. That's the old car wash. That's what it used to look like when we purchased it.
Is that art on the wall?
It was art on the wall, yeah. The movie The Wash was filmed there with like Snoop Dogg and Drake. But this is the buff and shine I was telling you guys about. So at the end, when your car's coming out, that has a little buff and shine, and that's chamois, and it buffs the car and dries off any excess water that's left from the.
Do you have a front elevation of a street side?
Front elevation of the street side, I think the
street look elevation.
Yeah, the let's see. I think you might have to go to the Google Street View. That see photos, that first one, I think that might show it. Or see outside with the Google Street View. Yeah, that one. It's on the other side. Turn it, keep going. There you go.
Well, that's one of these pictures here.
That's the
or because the star's on the post.
Yeah, that's the picture of our Encino wash that I was showing you guys with the actual white in there.
Okay. That wasn't very pleasing to me.
Which one?
I'm sorry.
The pictures?
That one there.
Well, this doesn't have.
I don't know. Am I alone on this?
No, I think Victor had the same concern.
Well, this doesn't have the CMU
I'm
wall.
surprised that that's.
There's again in the one for Bellflower, there's a CMU wall that's about 3 feet high, and then there's landscaping that butts right up to it. And again, this picture might be a year old. The landscaping's grown out a little bit now.
Okay.
About the same age as the Bell Comp.
It is. Our Santa Monica is just as old. Santa Monica's been there for 70 years.
So when do you think your wash was built in Bellflower?
Bellflower? I'm not going to guess because you
I
guys
think
are pros
he
here.
knows.
So I'm not going to walk into that one. I'm not walking
I'll
into
tell you a
that
little
one.
story about that. You know, the competitor down the street, Flans Car Wash. The guy that owned it, his name was Flansburgh.
Okay.
And so he was working hard there one Saturday. He didn't know they were auctioning off this car wash. He said, my biggest regret is I didn't go down there and buy that. It went for $30,000.
What year?
He said I was gonna buy it and just shut them down, and then I wouldn't have to have my business gone. But, but that's what that car wash sold for back
Wow.
in the early 60s.
Wow. And we
And
didn't.
you couldn't buy the vacuums for that now.
No.
No.
So the vacuums, I think, just the vacuums alone, the 14 vacs are around like 300,000,
Right.
300,000 or 400,000
But
with the equipment and
I
everything.
asked him one time, what's your biggest regret? He said, not going to that auction. I
Well,
stayed
yeah.
down here cleaning windows instead.
30 grand is not a bad deal.
Staff, can we do a Google view of the Santa Monica location? I want to see what they approved over there.
That one I have the actual approval. If you look, that one is 2510 Pico. That one, I have the 3D renderings here. That's approved with the Architectural Review Board over there. It's again that 2510 Pico. So that one, that's all staying, and this one has a basically the same look at this car wash, except the colors are going to be different, and then the vacuums are going to be on the outside here. This hasn't been started yet,
Yeah,
but
renovated,
it's the
yeah.
same. It's the same style. This has the instead of the wrought iron fencing, this has CMU wall. And that was going to be painted white with the gray and the blue trim. So it's going to have the same look. And then the fencing is going to come out to the curb, and that's going to be gray, wrought iron, 4.5 feet fencing all the way around the property. That one's approved by the city of Santa Monica.
Are you gonna keep asphalt as the
No.
pavement, or is it all concrete?
All the asphalt's, water's the worst enemy of asphalt. So all the car washes, we remove all the asphalt and we redo all the concrete. Same with Bellflower. All the concrete's going to be redone with the curbs and the sidewalks. Any cracks on the sidewalks will be fixed.
So, Mr. Dutton, you have the floor still.
Yeah, I know.
And Hawthorne's Green Forest, Hawthorne. I can show you that one if you want. Green Forest, Hawthorne. That one is just, again, it's an existing express, Green Forest, Hawthorne. This one is, again, it's getting, all the animals are going on this one. Yeah, this one is again being changed to our blue, white, and gray colors, and then all the animals are going, and yeah, the vacuums are changing and getting more modern.
So what came here, recap, what came here before us is an open south wall, just wrought iron.
Correct, because the planning commissioner didn't want the white either.
I get that, and that's where I'm stuck a little bit. And then, but you're willing to put a complete tunnel in of the wall with the, I forget, was it,
That PVC.
the plastic, or the walls that
Correct.
they use it in bathrooms. I mean, there's three letters, I'm trying to remember what it is. You have
PVC?
No,
Acrylic?
PVC or something, I don't know, something like that, but it's the same kind of, has a little texture to it or something, anyway. But it's a wall made, and you put that over the
Inside the
drywall.
tunnel, yeah.
Right, inside the tunnel. Right now, with the open wall, there's no ceiling, but there's a wall with the PVC board on it.
So right now inside Bellflower, there's...
Well, I guess not right now, in this proposed project, of way it is with an open wall. It would be an open ceiling too. Well, not
No,
open
the-
to, but
Yeah, so what we usually do is, the ceiling, the height is a little too high, so we do enclose it. The white plastic that you
No.
saw, that's our ideal scenario, because it's a controlled
Right,
environment.
control
and we
the
can clean
environment
it,
for the water.
and you can clean it a lot better, and because you can power wash everything. But when it's metal and paint chips and all those things, it just gets really nasty after a while. All the grease and gunk builds up in there.
as I was sharing my concern with we have a sound study from, I imagine it's from the equipment manufacturer?
It's
or-
actually acoustic engineer, so that was with just the one wall, but our proposal is with all three, so it'll be another.
But we have a sound study with a complete tunnel.
With the current tunnel, with just a with a closed on one side, the wrought iron side. That's what the study's with right now.
With it closed on that, with it closed, okay, got it.
Correct, yes.
And if it's open, we don't have any clue what the sound is.
Correct. It's open
Yeah.
now, and again.
That's what we're proposing here tonight,
Yeah.
open. Okay.
Well, no, I'm open to have it
Both.
open or
Or
have it with
closed,
the-
yeah,
with
but
the-
I don't have any data of how noisy it is.
The data with the
With it
closed
open.
with the thing we do have.
Yeah.
But not open.
But not open.
Not open,
Yeah.
correct. And the planning commission had the same concerns as you do, that how is it gonna be with it now not closed? And their concern was, it's been like that for a number of years, open, and they asked the planning commission, have you received any noise complaints throughout the years? And they said no. And so there hasn't been any noise complaints to date.
Well, we don't know what this operation is pushing more cars through, more noisy, the vacuums, the brushes, everything's going.
The brush.
The idea on
Yeah.
a weekend is keep the cars going.
Correct.
We know what that thing does for how many cars go through it in the last 5 years, not a lot.
So we
Yeah.
we are open to, if you
Yeah.
want to revise it,
Yeah.
to do the
Yeah. I get
enclosed
that,
acrylic,
yeah.
we'll do that as well, and do higher landscaping on the front so that it covers it more and gets it over the CMU wall.
Okay. You have two, I guess, short 5-foot walls in between some garages.
We do?
Not you don't, the neighbor, the apartment side.
I believe that's a 9-foot wall, I think, right?
It says 5 foot on the plans.
No, it's taller than that.
It's the neighboring to the apartments, the parking.
Right,
for
yeah,
the
there's
apartments.
To the north.
short.
Yeah,
It says about 5 feet coming out to the entry level.
it's a lot high. Yeah, it's more.
More
Yeah,
than
it's-
that, okay.
there's the wall right there.
Yeah, it's,
Well, it's kind of a little messed up there, isn't it? But that's not on your property.
That's
it's
their
on-
property, yeah.
that's.
The reason why we asked,
Supporting their garages.
yeah, one of the conditions of the plan was for us to stucco that wall, and it was a condition. And we opposed because we don't own the wall, and if the
Well,
neighbor says,
I'm gonna ask that you get permission.
we would definitely ask for permission, yeah, because we want to update it. But if they say no,
Paint, well, I don't think they'll say no. It's amazing what, a little love will do and with a little money on someone else's property. Can we look at the other end of that?
The Blaine Avenue side?
Yeah, the Blaine side, the same little short wall they got there on the other side. And I think there's another wall in between the two buildings. Gotta go look at Blaine, okay. And that, okay, that's pretty decent, I guess, okay. And you still have a line of sight, okay.
That wall's holding up their carports.
This is the backside of their carport. is what
Right,
it is,
I mean,
yeah,
that's part of
yeah.
the structure.
And do you recall, in between, there's the parking garages next door. You have a very long one that off of Bellflower Boulevard, and then a shorter one, and there's a gap between them. You recall that?
I'm sorry, what was
On the plans, you got your parking here, and then you
Okay.
have a little gap there. There would be a little wall right there, the
I
condition
don't
of
think
that.
we have a gap. Can you put
The
up the plans?
plans show a gap on that.
Let me see.
Be A1.2, if you got them listed that way.
The existing,
The existing parking garage,
there's a gap between the two garages.
and I'm seeing what the condition of that wall was.
A1.2. I'm gonna borrow her set. That's on their property side.
I
I'm
know.
not sure what that is.
Yeah, I know that's on property,
Yes.
but there's a wall right there. I'm just asking you the condition of that wall. What do you, is it okay? Is it?
Oh, the CMU wall?
Yeah, the wall, yeah.
Yeah,
just
that's
like it.
continuous.
I can't get Google to look at that one.
Yeah, no, it's continuous. On our side, it's continuous.
It doesn't stop.
Okay, it's not a wood fence, it's a
No,
block
no,
wall,
it's a
continuous.
block, yeah, it's a block wall from end to end.
And, because on here, it doesn't say, where it just says approximately 5 feet on the others, and doesn't have nothing there.
I think the ends is just the ends, he's saying. Exiting property will be about 5 feet tall. He's referring to the 5 feet tall of the ends of the
Yeah,
walls.
but there's nothing here in the middle.
Correct. Yeah, that's, the CMU is still continuous there.
Okay. Your artist rendering shows a lot of cactus type of plants.
Drought
Is that
tolerant.
what we're putting in?
We have to. It's a requirement.
Those are beautiful cactus, though.
Are you recycling your water? or-
Yes. Yeah, we have a 3-stage recycling system. It's reclaim. There's
Looks like
a
something would be in Arizona.
it recaptures the water, filters it, and then it goes to the high pressure for the initial soak of the cars. So, and then it gets pumped once every quarter. All from the reclaim system, they get pumped out by a company that comes and takes out the excess sediments.
So basically, you got a brand-new wash just with an older building around it. Because all your mechanical's got to be brand new.
All the mechanical, plumbing, electrical, concrete, all the driveways, all the curbs, all the gutters, all the lighting, everything's brand new except the shell of the exterior, and that's what we're just preserve.
On the metal, architectural metal pylons, I guess.
Yes.
The 9 on there. Is there going to be any uplighting to glow them or anything, or just going to be blue paint and we're done?
I'm not sure if there are any light restrictions because I know certain cities don't
There would
allow-
be, yeah.
Yeah,
we
wouldn't-
glow is okay. It just you got to be
Can't make 'em
shielded.
blink.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know there's.
I don't know. Was there any plans for that?
We
No.
didn't. We
Okay,
didn't put it
that's
in
fine.
there because
Just
some
yes or no
cities have light
question.
pollution.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we try to avoid stepping on toes.
That's all I got, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Wendy, you're up.
I'd like to just make a motion.
Sorry, it's
All
been
right.
long-winded.
We're going, so you any questions of us?
Just those items I would like to address.
All right, so we
the-
got the hours figured out, and we're figuring out what to do on that south wall.
the hours, the south wall.
Mr. Mayor, before we close the public session, if we were to, let's say, entertain the idea of that white wall and keeping the wrought iron fencing, would you be open to a mural on that white wall?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
We actually have a mural on our Encino. We have a big, huge wall, and we have a big mural on there.
Okay. All right. Just an
We
idea.
actually, again, on the other side as well, where the drive-in is, if we'd like to put a mural there too. If, as the cars are coming in, the one that's shared with the other neighbor, if they would allow it, we're open to a mural there too. Because our Encino location has a mural about Encino, its founding, just kind of kind of a history of it.
All right. Just an idea. All right. Thank you.
All right, we're not going to close the public hearing yet, so I'm going to see if there's anybody else who wants to give testimony for or against the project. Hi, Sharon.
Hi. Do I sign in again, or?
We'll know who you are. We're good.
Okay. I live in the neighborhood adjacent to this car wash. My concern is that Tommy's Express Car Wash on Lakewood and Somerset, at certain times when you're coming, you can't turn right onto Somerset. The traffic is so backed up. To get into my neighborhood going north on Bellflower Boulevard or west on Somerset, I turn on to Blaine there. I have a huge concern that I'm going to be coming home or other neighbors in my area, and traffic is going to be backed up. There is a lot of pedestrian traffic at certain times, and kids from school and stuff. And I'm just really concerned about that Blaine, especially the Blaine Avenue, that I can see having the ability to get out if you change your mind, but I hope it's not allowed to be in and out and to back up and back up and back up, because it is would be very dangerous at times, and, I mean, I know people try to be careful, but I just judging by what Tommy's is, I don't know what the size of the queue at Tommy's, this is 22 cars, so that may be a difference for the backup onto the Somerset and Lakewood, but I just would like a further study or some kind of planning to help minimize that problem.
We'll consider that.
Okay, thank
Anybody else like to come forward and give testimony on this project? You can have a chance to rebut what she was saying. I'll give you that opportunity. You'd be best to, you understand her question about Blaine and how it'd be impacted.
Yeah. So Blaine is really not gonna, it's more of like an emergency exit, and I'll share kind of why that's there. What happens is I want to say maybe out of 100 cars or 200 cars, there's always that one car that realizes that it's a touch car wash and they don't want it to be touched. And so they'll use that to leave. So it's not a primary exit. It's not an entrance at all. And what'll happen is the cars will only come in through Bellflower. So there will be the cars that'll come in from Bellflower. They'll go in through the line. And usually if it's usually the first time customer or they don't know what it is, if they realize that it's an express car wash and they're not too thrilled with it, they'll just leave. But that's not designed for anything else, because otherwise if that exit was not there, and let's say a car comes in and there's 7 cars behind them, and that guy doesn't want to get his car washed, then we have to back out 7 cars into Bellflower and then try to get that car to get out because it's curbs that keep them in there. That's the only reason why it's there. So think of it as more of like an emergency exit in the event a customer doesn't want to wash their car. But that's really the main reason why it's there.
Direct your questions up here. All right. So currently that driveway that you're going to shorten up, 16 feet to less than that now. So does that have ingress and egress?
It does right now.
All right, so there probably is more activity there on that Blaine side than there will be in the future.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, I hate to say, but there's not a whole lot of cars at that car wash either.
Well,
so-
that
so
goes
that
with it.
really, you know.
Well, we want them to succeed, but we want to do it in a
I
normal way.
definitely
you
want
know.
business in Bellflower, and I would love to see it improved, but it was brought up earlier in the discussion about if there's no gate or anything, people could conceivably, well, I'm gonna cut the line and come in there, or there's no cars lined up, so I mean, it just,
The employees will kind of guide the customer to go in the other way.
One
Again,
employee.
we want a uniform flow, because if we let customers come in through Blaine or come in through the exits, then it'll just disrupt the flow when we get busier, and it makes it harder for everyone else.
oh, I
So
understand, but.
the employees know to just, again, when we open, the main objective is to train the flow of traffic, just to get everyone used to the right way. That, again, that's just an emergent, it's a smaller, right now it's a lot bigger. I think it's twice the size. And it's gonna get shortened down to one side. It'll have a do not enter, exit only, and it'll have an exit only arrow. And it'll say main entrance all the way around. So there will be additional signs, as part of the requirement. We'll have additional signs directing customers which way to enter and which way not to enter, and they'll have a do not enter sign. So that should.
All right, well, thank you very much for both
Thank you.
figuring it out. Anybody else want to speak before or against this project? Bobo, you got anything? All right.
Not seeing any, I'd move we close the public hearing.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Ray Dutton, seconded by Victor Sanchez. Without objection, that'll be the order to close the public hearing. All right, so what we got to figure out is what's the best way out on that one south-facing wall?
I'd like to
That's a
make a
biggie.
motion to accept staff's recommendations, but with the modified hours, with the amended hours.
All right.
One more question, just clarification on the condition number 21. Is it confirmed that based on the survey, the car wash does not own the block wall?
Yes, that's what they said.
No, that's what
No?
they said. I'm asking for confirmation. Is it
Oh.
confirmed?
Yeah, they had a surveyor do something, it turned, is my understanding.
Yes.
Staff, don't we have a surveyor's opinion on that?
Yes, from the survey that was sent to me by the applicant following the planning commission meeting, it appears that the wall is on the neighbor property.
I don't want to hear the word "it appears." I want something definitive. Is it Do they own it or not?
I believe they do not own it.
Yeah, because my point is, if they don't, then we should remove condition 21. If we're not sure, then we need to add a condition that based on the survey, they should follow staff recommendation. That's what I'm getting at.
Okay.
If it's not confirmed, I think we need to modify condition number 21 to say that a survey, if a survey shows that the car wash owns the block wall, they need to implement whatever recommendation the staff has.
Mr. Mayor, I believe the survey shows that they do not own that wall.
Is it confirmed? Is it 100%?
The survey that's been submitted by the applicant shows that the applicant does not own that wall. That was a question during the previous hearing as well. That's why the survey was submitted to us.
Okay, because I heard the word "it appears."
The survey that's submitted to us shows that it's not owned by the applicant.
Okay, so it's definitive. So if that's the case, we don't need condition 21. It's not enforceable. Okay. So if that's the case, then we need to remove 21. All right, thank you.
All right, so we have Wendy offered, she wants to accept what staff has recommended. We're going to get some opinions here as to whether that's the best way to go. Have you any thoughts on how to do that south-facing wall?
Well, are you asking me?
Yes,
Oh,
please.
okay. So there's going to be enclosure, right?
It's going to be enclosed.
Enclosed,
And there's going to be wrought iron.
wrought iron, and then the wrought iron will stay. And then there's going to be
There's wrought iron there now, yeah.
yeah, and there's going to be some kind of artwork on the wall. I'm okay with that.
Mr. Sanchez?
I'm okay with that recommendation. If that's is that Wendy's motion?
Mm.
Wendy, is that Ms. Morris? I
My
mean, council
motion
member.
is to accept staff's recommendations with the exception, and conditions with the exception of the amended hours. And
So
then, like Sonny said, removing. items.
Staff recommendation, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sav. It's a glass window.
Hold on. Beth, can you clarify the way
Yeah.
your recommendation
What is your
been?
exact
Sure.
recommendation?
Let me be clear and read out condition number 15, because that's as it relates to the exterior elevation.
Right.
So number 15 says, the permittee must revise the architectural theme along the southern property line, including without limitation the building facade and car wash tunnel enclosures to the satisfaction of the Director of Planning and Building Services or designee. The architectural theme must be consistent throughout the project. So this specific condition is not expressly includes the glass wall. However, that is what the staff recommendation would be to include that glass wall. So that when it comes back to staff for review, our review would be to include the glass wall unless otherwise decided by the council.
What I would seek, basically that condition leaves it to director's discretion. What I would seek from the council is some direction to your planning director and to myself for some clarity as to whether you want that glass or not, so we can provide that direction clearly to the applicant.
Yeah.
Wait, so are you for the glass wall?
I am for the glass wall.
Okay, so the motion that's been brought forward is glass wall.
I think it would look better than the plain white wall.
And no mural, just glass wall.
Well,
If it's
the
glass,
mural
yeah.
didn't, when that was brought forward, that does make, I could see something like that too. I want it enclosed. I think this noise-wise, it's not, it should be enclosed. But that plain white wall does not,
That don't work for you.
it doesn't work, no. But it is up to the, it says here, to the planning director, so if it's something that they brought together and can conclude, I would be okay with that. I just want it to be enclosed. I feel it should be enclosed, I should say.
Will something that's glass with some artwork be okay with you? Okay. So I guess just the matter of just enclosure, and I think
Enclosing.
we need to give staff direction if what is acceptable.
I got a question for
Okay.
staff, if
Go ahead.
anytime I can interject. The glass wall, is that glass on the fence in replace of the wrought iron, or is it gonna be 2-foot back part of the tunnel? Like, you know what I mean? Where's the glass going?
Sure, so it would be,
Is it going behind the
so
wrought iron?
the recommendation would be to remove the wrought iron and to have the full glass
Oh,
wall.
full glass there. Okay, that's
Right.
where the glass would be. Okay.
Correct. Or if they can't achieve full glass because of Title 24, then perhaps it's partial glass. So meaning there's a solid base at the bottom with some type of windows incorporated.
And that, if I may interject as well, that would be my understanding. It doesn't have to be a ground to ceiling wall.
Correct.
It would be the replacement of the wrought iron. Or in that gap space, that open space.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Because the wrought iron is just a fence. It's not part of the building enclosure.
If the applicant came back with a brick wall completely with a mural on it or something, would that be something staff would look at, or would we be going strictly with the glass wall at this point?
At this point, we haven't considered a brick wall. Just in terms of what our review has been, it's been really focused on kind of incorporating similar designs from the past. And so that's why the recommendation has always been the glass wall with an aluminum frame.
Aesthetically, it does look nice.
Funny, I see the wheels spinning.
I think the main issue here is just the noise.
Yes.
That's the main issue, is the noise. And I just want to give some latitude to the staff. But at the same time, I want to make sure that we give them enough direction. So what is acceptable?
But keep in mind with the noise
Right.
that it's facing onto a boulevard, not a bunch of residential.
I think there's no.
It's not going to complicate anybody's lives.
I think we're in agreement that even the applicant is in agreement. There's to be some kind of enclosure.
Right.
Okay.
But a lot of that is to protect his machinery. I mean, I think the reason the wrought iron's there now, that was put in because they didn't want anybody vandalizing the items that are inside that tunnel.
Right. To minimize graffiti or
So if we went with the glass, I'm thinking about what they're saying about glass is a hard maintenance item. It'll get foggy. But if we have some sort of a mural on it, it would kind of put that aside, wouldn't it? Because the forming of the minerals will be on the inside of the glass and the mural will be on the outside.
Would you put a mural on the glass?
That's what I'm thinking. Wouldn't you
I mean,
think of that, Vic?
it depends the purpose.
Well, where would the mural,
you get
so
light.
then we put the mural aside and just go with the
No,
glass?
I think the suggestion from the applicant is if it's like some kind of aluminum, not glass, he's willing to put mural, but not on the glass. Because glass is supposed to be see-through, and I see the point. Over time, it becomes foggy. And at the same time, you cannot put a mural on glass. So it's either glass or aluminum or similar material. So
So if we did aluminum,
then he can put
you could put the
the
mural on
mural.
there.
Could we leave that to for staff to work on with the applicant? Whether it's aluminum or glass?
My recommendation is for us to make a decision because
Correct.
the applicant is requesting for aluminum with mural. Are we okay with that? I think that's the question. If you're not okay with that, then we'll go to option B.
All right.
I like the way staff has it.
The motion is then staff's
Yeah, I would,
recommendations and conditions, with the exceptions of the modified hours, though, allow it to be the 7 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Because staff recommendation is not specific, right?
We close the public hearing, Mitch, you can't.
I know you, but I would like to motion to reopen public hearing
Wanna do that?
because of this discussion with the glass. Because that was not discussed before in open.
Only because you're an expert in glass.
No, I just have a comment of.
reopen it.
All right, let me see if I can get a
location that I would like to
motion.
say.
Maybe you got enough power here to.
Anyway.
All right.
I'll make a motion.
Reopen
Mr.
the
Mayor.
Don't leave now, Mitch. You're going to get a chance. All right, we got a motion by Victor Sanchez.
I'll
to open-
second.
And to reopen the public hearing, and the support by Wendy Morris. you are back on.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. The reason I wanted to bring this up about the glass and also the people that are proposing to do the car wash, when you go over to the one that's on Lakewood, you look at that glass enclosure, there's mineral deposits, it's stained, it's ugly. It's completely, I mean, you would have to go in there with chemicals to get all of the alkaline off of the glass and all the alkaline that gets onto the aluminum. The aluminum is susceptible, all the minerals as well, and it destroys the aluminum. So I just wanted to make that clear that if it was decided to go with glass and aluminum and all the rubber and everything that holds that glass in, that's where the problem is going to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? We've got the public
Yep.
hearing open, so Bob, here's your big chance.
Here it comes.
Thanks, Mitch. Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff, Robert Wilson. This has been a car wash as long as I can remember. It has always been open to Somerset, Compton Avenue since I was a kid. We've never had any complaints that I know of from anybody, from any noise. And it's been open to Somerset for the last 50 years. The blower has been through the car wash for 50 years, so we're going to require somebody that wants to spend $3 million on a car wash to cover up a wall that's been open for all these years. Who's complained about the noise? Now, if they put a tunnel in, the noise is going to go either out the east end or the west end. There's a 12-foot wall to the apartments to the north. They're not complaining. The donut shop and the boat that's been parked across the street for 20 years is not going to complain. I don't see what the big hoopla about putting an enclosure on the south wall. If you put in plexiglass, it's going to get marred and nasty within the first year or two. The aesthetics that you're looking for is going to get ruined quick enough. If you we need another commercial building with another mural. I don't think that's going to be aesthetically pleasing. Leaving it open is not going to hurt anybody. That's my position. Thank you.
Thought about the glasses. Something occurred to me. My brother used to live on the apartments on Bellflower Boulevard, adjacent to the car wash. My concern is if traffic backs up, say on the weekend, how are the residents going to be able to get in and out? If there's, on Tommy's Express, they're all lined up on Lakewood Boulevard. They're not blocking driveways in and out. I'm concerned it could create problems for the residents in those apartments. I'm sure there's something that could be done to accommodate leaving those driveways open so cars could get in and out and not have problems with road rage or something at that point. Just something to consider when putting together the plan of some way to keep those things open to prevent further problems. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I might, as I see this, we have a couple of issues. Number one, the hours, which I think you've addressed. Number two is the frontage along Somerset Boulevard. I think the way staff's recommended this makes me a little bit uncomfortable that we're leaving it in the director's hands to do something that you all may or may not be comfortable with. What I might suggest is if you all are comfortable with it, establish some subcommittee of you all to sit down and review this along with staff, so at least we have the council reviewing this along with us. That would make me a little more comfortable as we're doing this, with some direction as you all approve it. You either have a glass frontage or you have some wall-type frontage. What I'm hearing is the wrought iron is something that you want to see removed. Or you have some solid wall frontage with a mural or without. That's really the two options that I see that you have, but we'd ask for some direction, and perhaps we can sit with a committee of you all to carry that forward.
Let's hear from the applicant.
So what we would prefer as the applicant is to leave it open. If we're not allowed to leave it open, we would be open to putting a CMU wall and just bringing it all the way up, just like the Santa Monica one, and paint that or cover it with foliage or something along those lines. That CMU wall is another option. Or our first option would be leave it open. Second option would be that plastic white that you guys saw and then have foliage, but leave the wrought iron. The third one would be get rid of the wrought iron and put a CMU wall all the way up and paint that and cover that up with landscaping. But the glass, like the residents here has addressed and the pictures I've shown, is we absolutely do not want to put glass on that. It will look terrible after a few years. That's a guarantee. Any car wash you will go to a Tommy's and just pay close attention to the glass and you will see it will look terrible after a few years. Thank you.
I'm willing to take Ryan's suggestion and sit
Motion.
on a committee.
Motion to close the public hearing?
Yeah, we're going to close the public hearing.
Second.
All right, so the motion by Councilmember Victor Sanchez, supported by Mayor Pro Tem Ray Dutton, to close the public hearing, and that'll be the order without objection. So, is there any interest, Wendy's in agreement for a subcommittee to look at this? Does have anybody else want to do that?
I think so.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm looking for a motion to make that happen.
Motion for a subcommittee?
Yeah.
For a
Who's the
subcommittee.
people?
And
Okay.
who would like to serve?
Wendy was
I
one.
will. I'll be on it.
We'll sign Wendy up.
I'm close enough to the district.
All
There we
right,
go.
so we have the subcommittee members.
How's that?
So, Mr. Mayor, if I might
Yes.
clarify that motion, the motion is staff's recommendation with the addition of an ad hoc subcommittee comprised of Councilmember Morse and Councilmember Santa Ynez.
That'll
to
be the
review along with
motion,
staff.
Yeah, to work
if
with
someone would
staff.
like to make it.
I'll make the motion, Mr. Mayor.
All right, and I'll second it. So we have the motion by Councilmember Victor Sanchez, and the mayor will second the motion. Please poll the council.
Mayor, sorry.
Yeah.
Just for clarification, that is with the changed hours and striking of condition number 21?
Yeah, I think we've all
Right,
agreed
I
upon
make the
that.
motion for those are included. So the hours are approved, the hour changes, and then striking out item number 21.
That's, I agree with that motion. All right, Ms. City Clerk?
Councilmember Santa Ynez.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Dutton.
Aye.
Councilmember Morse.
Aye.
Councilmember Sanchez.
Aye.
Mayor Coops.
Aye. All right, we're working hard for you. Well, yeah. Do you guys want a health break, or you want to move on?
I'm good.
What do you think, Sonny? I'm good. You're okay?
I'm good.
Okay. I don't want anybody. All right, I don't want any health failures here.
Let's take a 5-minute break since they're leaving.
All right, so we're going to recess for 5 minutes. We're going to reconvene at
They're leaving anyway.
10:20. Ordinance and resolutions for consideration. Mr. Smoot.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. McNerney is going to present this item for us.
Thank you, Mr. Smoot. Mr. Mayor, members of City Council, this evening I'll be presenting an amendment to our fireworks ordinance. What's being proposed is actually going to be two simultaneous things. One is going to be a urgency ordinance, number 1430, which is establishing the Bellflower Municipal Code, Chapter 8.16, as a strict liability violation and a responsible person's liability to violations committed under this section, and creating a definition of a responsible person. Secondly, we are also simultaneously running concurrently with this a read by title only and waive further reading of a normal ordinance procedure 1431 of the same title. The reason for the urgency ordinance is we weren't sure if we were going to be able to get the normal ordinance passed within the allotted amount of time for the 4th of July holiday, which is why we're having both of them presented to you today for your consideration. So first and foremost, in the staff report, I wanted to clarify one phrase that is in there, which was pointed out to me as not being very clear. In the very first sentence, of the executive summary, we indicate what Chapter 8.16 of the Bellflower Municipal Code is detailing, and we cover that it covers the regulations the use, the sale, possession of safe and sane fireworks, as well as those designated as non-safe and sane fireworks. That phrase right there is more of a slang phrase that's usually commonly referred to for illegal fireworks. That phrase is not used within the actual ordinance change itself. So just for clarification, that's what that is intended to say, but it is not physically used in the ordinance in and of itself. So of the three changes being proposed, there are three overarching changes which are being proposed. One is going to be the introduction of strict liability. And for those unaware of what that means, I have a quick definition up on the screen for you, but basically strict liability exists in both civil and criminal law, and it holds an individual accountable without the need to prove intent. And especially when we're coming to public health and safety violations with our fireworks ordinance we no longer have to prove that there's some sort of intent. And let me go back very quickly for a historical perspective on this. Beginning in 2021, we developed a new enforcement strategy, which under normal circumstances, the enforcement teams would have to physically view someone lighting the illegal firework in order to issue a citation. That was unfortunately not a very effective strategy because some of you have ridden with us on the 4th of July and understand how dynamic that evening is. We really just have a 2 to 3 hour window to issue all the citations because that's when the violations are occurring. And what was happening was we're a block away, fireworks going off, and you don't see the person who lit the firework off, but you see the firework right in front of the house with a group of 10 people standing there. Who belongs to? No one admits to it. We just have to keep on going, and that's the end of it. So in 2021, what we started to do was in our interpretation of our current code, and based on talking with our legal team at the time, we were given the okay to then, if we could definitively prove, based on our evidence at the scene, that a firework, that we didn't see someone discharge it, but we could tie it back to a property, we were holding the property owners responsible. So as a result, just for getting historical purposes, 2018, we issued 36 citations. 2019, we issued 52. 2020, it was 25. So 2021 is when we first started the property owner. It jumped to 85 citations in 2021, 2022, 107, and 2023, 128. So we've been able to make the enforcement effort quicker and much more effective. So again, that's kind of more of a backstory to that. And then how we got to doing the strict liability function of this is the citations we had this past year, 2023, that went to Superior Court, we were met with less than ideal results. We had a total of 12 citations go to Superior Court. I attended every single court hearing and represented the city's position as best I could. And we unfortunately did not prevail in 10 of those. We only prevailed in 2 of the 12. And the judges, 2 different judges heard our cases off and on, and they were very forthcoming with their information. And they were they wanted to first thank council for being so aggressive with the enforcement, but they did note that we couldn't prove intent. And that was a key component that we were missing with tying it to a property owner. We had to be able to show beyond a reasonable doubt that there was some sort of intention behind the property owner and being liable. So I had my last court case in January of this year. We took all the information we learned from that. We met with Carl, we met with Tim, and we sort of sat down and we said, how can we shore this up? And that is what is before you tonight. Where the addition of the strict liability will remove the intent purpose of proof, and we basically don't have to show that in court anymore, so that's another layer that we don't have to get to. The next thing that is being proposed is a definition of what a responsible person is. So any person, and this is to be straight from the definition from the ordinance, any person with control, possession, ownership, or other legal rights to real property that is subject of or associated with any prohibited act by this chapter. That's what the definition of the responsible person will be. And that's a duplicate slide, I apologize. And this is the main meat and potatoes of what we're looking at here. So a responsible person's liability. A responsible person is strictly liable for any violation of this chapter that occurs during a gathering on property that the responsible party owns, possesses, or controls, or in the public right-of-way immediately adjacent to property that the responsible person owns, possesses, or controls when the responsible person is present at or has knowledge of the gathering. In addition to that, we have a responsible person is subject to administrative citations for any violation under this chapter, regardless of personal intent or awareness of the violations. Thirdly, any act prohibited under this act, this chapter conducted in the public right-of-way or any public property by any person is attributable to the responsible person where such violation is immediately adjacent to the responsible person's private property. And we have one caveat in here that someone is not liable for a violation of our code if the responsible person who is the first to report violations to law enforcement or fire officials before violations are witnessed are not liable for actions by gathering on property which the responsible person is responsible for. So those are the three main changes. There's a couple of grammatical ones that are being made throughout the code which has no effect as far as its enforceability. But these are the three main changes being made and being proposed to council tonight. Should it be passed, we will do an educational campaign to the public to make sure that they're aware of these changes. One thing I'd like to also note is in the staff report, I indicated that there would be a mailer sent out with the CRNR trash bill. Unfortunately, that was not able to be done. We worked with CRNR and they were unable to facilitate our request for that. So we are going to pivot and going to go ahead and just do a mailer to every address we have in town. We still have time to do that. So just wanted to make that point aware. So with that, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions which the council might have.
Why wasn't CNR and R, they've always offered the chance to be able to use their method of mail to promote city stuff.
Right, so we designed a flyer to put in the trash bill.
Yeah.
And when they reviewed the flyer, they said that because it indicated nothing about trash pickup, they refused to put it in their mailer. So we put in a line in there that said, be safe to also throw away your fireworks in a responsible way, and they still refused.
Really?
Well, that's interesting.
They put like car show flyers in their thing?
Yeah, I mean.
Aren't they up for renewal?
Yeah.
I'm just talking to one of the committeemen here. Any questions of staff? You going to start, Sonny? Mr.
Yes.
Legal.
I'm curious about the definition of responsible person liability. It says a responsible person is strictly liable for any violation of this chapter that occurs during a gathering on property that the responsible party owns. So what if, let's say, there's a person, a renter, there's no gathering, just shooting fireworks in the backyard? Will that be applicable?
So if the actual firework is being discharged from the property itself?
From the property, there's no gathering, just a tenant shooting fireworks.
In this case, we would not use this section because it actually is being emitted from the owner's property itself. So the property owner is responsible for actions on their property.
So the citation will be sent to the property owner?
Correct. But then if you were to use the exact same scenario, let's say the individual was discharging the firework from the public right-of-way in the street, and then were to go back and we could tie it to a property, we still have to prove that the owner was aware that that was occurring, as the caveat here where it says the responsible person is present at or has knowledge if there's a gathering. Now, we don't define what a gathering is, so technically speaking, you could almost say gathering would be 2 or more people.
Yeah, but there's only one person.
Only one person that I would say would not apply.
So that person wouldn't be cited?
If we don't physically observe them doing it, we wouldn't be able to hold the property owner responsible.
Okay. But if you see the person actually discharging fireworks, then you can...
Yes, yeah,
give
that
them
is
citation.
unchanged. That is unchanged. So if we
Okay.
physically see an individual walk out and light said firework, they will still receive a citation. This does not change that.
Okay. All right. And then going back to the previous definition, your introduction about this modification, what was the judge looking for in terms of intent?
So how the code was previously written, it was, I'll flip to it right here. So previously, and we struck this portion of it out, most of our citations were being issued under section 8.16040 subsection B. And in that section, it specifies, it is unlawful for any person to fire, set off, discharge, or use, or cause, or permit to be fired, set off, discharge, or use any fireworks except those that are safe and sane. We struck out the line that says cause, permit to be fired off. The judge was saying we couldn't show any intent that the owners caused the violation or permitted the violation to occur.
Okay. So, but by doing this, then it becomes moot point.
Correct.
Okay. All right. That's all I have. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, Mr. Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to clarify on Councilmember Santines's question, in the scenario where it's one individual, you would cite the individual on the spot, not the property owner at that point.
If we physically observe an individual discharging illegal firework,
Right.
they will be stopped and cited. Yes.
Individually.
Yes.
Okay, because for a moment in time, we were moving quickly, and just citing the property regardless, correct? Not the individual? Or correct me if I'm wrong? Or both?
We were doing both.
Oh, okay.
Both, yes.
So in this case, we would only do the individual now, moving forward, not the property.
No. So
If you see the
So right now, what's being proposed is to still do both, but we're shoring up our ability to cite a property owner if we don't physically see the person light the firework, but we have evidence to believe it's related to their property.
So my question would be, in the case where you actually see the individual light the firework, at that point in time, and if you cite that individual, why would we still go after the property?
We would not.
Okay, that's my question. Okay, great.
It's
Thank
either
you.
or.
Either or.
Yes.
There it is.
twice.
Thank you. That's it. Thank you.
There's
That's
no
it.
double dipping.
Are we increasing the amount this year? Or are we leaving
No,
at
it is
2,000?
still at $2,000. We increased that fine amount in 2019. And again, this will be my 8th year doing the fireworks enforcement program, and $2,000 seems to be a pretty decent amount. That it's a fine line between making it stick and also getting people willing enough to take responsibility for it. And I think we're right at that point.
All right, fine.
I have a question.
All right, Wendy, you have the floor.
When the flyers are going out to notify the city of Bellflower, are they, so you have a homeowner that lives in Arizona, but they have a rental here. Are they also being mailed to their mailing addresses, not just the homes that here in Bellflower?
Yes, we're not just going to do occupant letters. We will be to the property owner addresses as well, yes.
So everyone is forwarded?
That is correct, because they could be affected by this.
Yes.
Yes.
That's okay.
Any other questions? Okay.
No questions.
No questions. Okay. Public comment, anybody else want to talk about fireworks? We worn you down with plexiglass.
What about car wash?
Our car wash. This isn't a public hearing, this is an item of consideration.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adopt urgency ordinance number 1430, an urgency ordinance amending Bellflower Municipal Code, Chapter 8.16, regulating fireworks in accordance with Government Code, Section 51306, and read by title only, waive further reading, and introduce ordinance number 1431, an ordinance amending Bellflower Municipal Code, Chapter 816, regulating fireworks in accordance with Government Code 51306.
I'll second the motion.
All right, so we have a motion by Councilmember Victor Sanchez, supported by Councilmember Sonny Santinez. Please poll the council.
Councilmember Santinas?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Dunton?
Aye.
Councilmember Morse?
Aye.
Councilmember Sanchez?
Aye.
Mayor Coops?
Aye. We made it to consent
Consent
calendar.
Calendar.
This reminds us of our planning commission days when we used to do these long meetings. All right, does anyone have any conflicts on any of the consent calendar items?
Covered up my conflict list. I don't think so, though. No.
I have one myself, which would be the park one, which is 14J, so I'll be abstaining from that because I have property within 500 feet of that project. And I would like to pull at the appropriate time 14I. And so no other people have anything to pull or talk about, or okay? Nope. All right. So Ryan, why don't you go over, I want to make sure that since Giovanni and Dennis are here, I think this is your authorship here, the 14I. And so tell us what you're doing here.
Yeah, this is simply a request for you all to authorize me to send a letter to Dennis and Giovanni here, the owners and operators of Hollywood Sports Park, who are, as you well know, leasing our property up on, near the tracks up there. And under their lease, come October this year, they are able to request request to exercise their option under that lease. This is simply asking you all to authorize me to give them some assurance with all of the stuff that's going on of what we already know to be our intention to approve that option when that time comes. Unfortunately, under the lease, we can't do that until that time comes. But when that time comes in October and they make that request, this letter expresses our intent to approve.
So you're given a written promise to renew the lease?
That's correct.
Okay. Have any questions? Oh, okay. I want you to be able to go to your employees and say, everything's cool here. And so you're cool with that? All right, you're not going to bring 1,000 people down here. All right, so I guess we'll look for a motion on the consent calendar.
I'll make that motion.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
All right, so the motion made by Councilmember Sonny Sanyanez and supported by Councilmember Victor Sanchez to accept the consent calendar. Please poll the council.
Councilmember Santinez.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Dutton.
Aye.
Councilmember Morse.
Aye.
Councilmember Sanchez.
Aye.
Mayor Coops.
Aye. Council reports. Ms. Morris, would you have anything to report?
I enjoyed doing the countywide service days at the fire museum.
That was
It was
fun.
really fun. My niece and
Thanks.
nephew enjoyed it. My daughter. I think my favorite part. Well, I like the vendors and everything, but the when they used the jaws of life and tore the car apart on Bellflower Boulevard, that was really cool.
That was your car?
No. I also enjoyed the volunteer luncheon. That when they recognized the volunteers around our city, because volunteers make the city go round.
No, that was very special.
Yeah, that was. So, but that's all.
Okay. Mr. Dutton.
I don't have anything tonight.
Mr. Sanchez. Yeah, go for it.
I just want to definitely echo the sentiments from Councilmember Morris. And then the other thing I would say, just want to give a big shout out to Parks and Rec. Kristen Smith and team over there at PJ did an excellent job at the Bravo. Just another great year. Good job. You guys always do a great show.
Mr. Santinez.
I have no comment, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Well, I'm going to adjourn this meeting in honor of a friend of mine and a customer of mine. And his name is Larry Brent LaGrasse. He was born in Fresno on August 6, 1936, and passed away April 29, 2024. He's the age of 87. Larry was raised in Visalia by his parents, Mildred and Jack LaGrasse, before moving to Los Angeles to pursue his illustrious career in fashion design. Larry was a beacon of creativity and inspiration, known for his passion for art, costume design, fashion, and interior design, as well as love for travel, archaeology, animals, and gardens. He was a professor of fashion design at various colleges and universities here in Los Angeles and Orange County, and later shifted his focus to real estate property management. Larry also had served on the alumni board at Cal Arts. Larry is survived by his husband, John Paul Dreher, niece Tony LaGrasse Price, nephew Stephen LaGrasse, cousin Opal Blake, two Siamese cats, Harvey and Bernie, and many beloved friends. Our deepest sympathies and heartfelt condolences go out to our John Paul Dreher and the entire LaGrasse family. This was a good friend of the community. He had property not far from here, and he buy appliances from me, and he was a good friend of John Paul Dreher's, and we just wanted to let him know that we're thinking about him. And I was told that he was having several services, several here and several up in Visalia where he will be interned. But our hearts go out to especially John Paul Dreher, who we know very well. We're gonna change, I'm looking for that little blurb that we talked about earlier where it's beginning, what was the date in May? We're gonna change our dress code for council meetings.
It would be from June 10th to September 9th.
So starting June 10th through September 9th, we will no longer wear the suits that we're wearing tonight. We will now be wearing our council shirts. And I think that comes with welcome idea, but not to say we're putting these suits aside. Don't throw it away. We're gonna use them again. Just taking a break. They will come back. It reminds me of my father. He only drank beer from Memorial Day to Labor Day, and then he never drank beer. It's like a summertime drink. You can't. And that's the way we're treating our clothing here. So I'm going to adjourn this next regular meeting to our Bellflower City Council at 5:30 p.m. on Tuesday, May 28th, 2024. We're adjourned.